Chapter 401. Big Guy. This fiend soul beast was more than 3 times the size of an average fiend soul beast. Its body shimmered with a metallic sheen. It stared coldly at Lei Peng and Nian Lu. Its icy stare didn't contain any hint of warmth. Lei Peng and Nian Lu felt as though they were 2 little insects about to be stomped under the steps of a colossal giant. The other only needed to gently raise its foot, and could crush them. This fiend soul beast was unusually ugly. Its flat head was like that of a toad. The wide maw was tightly clenched, and its jaw askew. The hunched posture was poised to strike. Every tense muscle fiber was visible to the eye. Its abnormally thick limbs made it appear asymmetric, but when these unbalanced features were combined together, it left them terror-stricken from the sense of danger. The duo's scalps felt numb, but they did not dare to move rashly. The 2 of them were experienced. They knew if that they ran right now, there would be no chance of survival. The fiend soul beast was motionless as it gazed down at the duo with indifference. "What do we do?" Lei Peng maintained his posture as he asked in a low voice. "Drag it out." Nian Lu was also motionless. His eyes twirled about. "This thing is making such a spectacle. The others will definitely detect the disturbance. We will drag the fight out until they come to reinforce us." At the same time, the fiend soul beast suddenly opened its mouth. The terrifyingly wide mouth opened like a gaping maw. "Move." Lei Peng and Nian Lu's bodies moved at the same time. The 2 of them darted away, one to the right and one to the left, each gathered all the Ling power they could muster. The sword energy and saber energy left their hands at the same time, and howled as they flew towards the fiendish soul beast. The fiendish soul beast seemed to not see it. Its eyes widened, and it inhaled through its enormous mouth. Hiss. The fiendish mist in the surroundings gathered furiously towards its gaping mouth. At a rate visible to the naked eye, a red-black ball of light formed in its open mouth. It actually condensed the fiendish mist it had gathered into a ball of light the size of a fist. Ding ding. 2 clear sounds of impact rang out. Lei Peng and Nina Lu's complexions changed. Their sword and saber energies had struck the body of the fiend soul beast, and only caused 2 sparks to fly. What kind of monster was this? These 2 were both Xiuzha that had comprehended essence. Their blows had been thrown with all their power, but they hadn't even left a mark behind. The duo's hearts sank. This big guy's strength was far beyond their predictions. A black-red light erupted from the open mouth of the fiend soul beast. It frightened the 2 into using all of their power to dodge to the sides. Boom! The red and black light lit up behind them. They were not able to react as they thrown backwards, and tossed through the air like blades of grass. Pia pia, the instant the 2 landed on the ground, they were barely able to stabilize themselves. Their legs sunk into the dirt from the force. They were left in a sorry state. They could not dwell on the shock they were feeling. Turning around, the fiendish mist behind them had been swept clean away. Black smoke rose from a 20-zhang wide burnt black pit that stretched out behind them. This was a monster. The duo's faces were ashen white. Ma Fan moved like a ghost in the fiendish mist as he searched for fiend soul beasts. His entire body was covered in faint sword essence. Ever since he had comprehended sword essence manifestation, his strength had leapt forward, but this also made his status slightly awkward, and this was even more evident when Zhongru had stepped into Jindan. Compared to his normal fellows, he was much stronger, but he was a step behind the strongest group. After Wei Sheng came, and Zhongru's core formation, the stage of Jindan had become the sign of being in the first group. It seemed as though he was only 1 step away from the stage of Jindan, but this step was not so easily crossed. If it wasn't for Wei Sheng teaching the principles of the sword, he wouldn't have dared to hope he could break through to Jindan. Zhongru's core formation was enormously influential on the entire group. Xieshan's core formation had been expected due to this many years of cultivation. Teacher Wei's core formation was to be expected due to his talent. Only Zhongru's core formation was motivational to everyone. In the camp, Zhongru was not the best in strength or the most talented. The fact that he could become Jindan made it that core formation no longer seemed so out of reach in everyone else's eyes. For Ma Fan, other than motivation, this was also a kind of pressure. He suddenly raised his head, his expression was grave. Such a powerful presence. There was a situation. He suddenly changed directions, and accelerated to fly towards the energy ripple. There were no other people in this fiendish mist other than their group. As he flew, he muttered inside. Who had such misfortune to encounter a big guy? Ma Fan's movement skill was not low, and after comprehending sword essence which was merged into his movement method, there were few in the camp that could rival him in speed. When he put focused on speed, he was like lightning. If one looked down from high up, they would see that Ma Fan was cutting through the mist like a sharp knife. Behind him, the two waves of air were like the lines of water when a ship traveled through and was extremely pretty. That burst of shocking presence quickly became clearer, and Ma Fan's expression became increasingly serious. Boom boom boom. Sounds of explosions continuously echoed from ahead. With each sound, Ma Fan's heart would jump. At just this moment, his pupils suddenly shrank. It was Lei Peng and Nian Lu. The three were teammates from Sky Peak Platoon. Ma Fan was very familiar with the presences of these two, and instantly recognized them. The duo's appearances were messy and panicked, which made it evident that the situation was very dangerous. Ma Fan snorted coldly, and his speed increased again. When he flew closer and saw Lei Peng and Nian Lu's sorry states, fury rose in his eyes. With a long howl, his body suddenly shot up in the air. The sword essence vibrated from his body and continuously increased. When he reached his peak, his sword essence had accumulated to an extreme and was blinding. The fiend soul beast raised its head and shot a fiendish mist bullet towards Ma Fan in the air. Ma Fan could clearly sense the danger from the black-red light. If this was any other situation, he would definitely dodge and wait for a chance to strike. But at this time, his Ling power and sword essence were surging without being held back. He seemed to be inside a burning fire cauldron. Every muscle felt as though it was being sliced by 1,000 knives. He knew those were fine sword essences. His sword essence might have reached the stage of manifestation, but he still needed a considerable amount of practice to control them at will. He had seen Teacher Wei practice the sword. The sword essence was concentrated without a single thread going astray. That was the stage he dreamed about. He tried to control the sword essence around his body and concentrated them inside his flying sword. His blood vessels expanded and were on the verge of rupturing. The countless fine sword essences were like knives, but Ma Fan ignored all of this. All of his attention was focused on the merging of Ling power and sword essence. Teacher Wei had said only when Ling power and sword essences came together would they have the greatest power. With Ling power and no sword essence, it only had the appearance. With sword essence but no Ling power, there was blood but no flesh. All the sword essence and Ling power in his body furiously flew towards the sword. The sword hummed lightly, and released a dazzling blue light. This layer of blinding light also covered Ma Fan. The blue light was like a drop of ink that had splattered onto a white piece of paper. It spread outwards at astounding speeds. In the blink of an eye, the area Tianzhong around Ma Fan was as blue as the sky. The black-red light finally reached him. The sword energies that were as blue as the sky tore apart the fiendish mist. In a patch of red-black fiendish mist, it was peerlessly dazzling. Pew! The sword energy sliced across the fiendish mist bullet without any resistance like a hot knife through butter, and entered the forehead of the fiendish soul beast. Pew! Black liquid flew and turned to a ball of mist in the air before disappearing. The fiend soul beast wailed in pain. For the first time, its icy cold eyes showed a ripple of emotion. It seemed unable to believe it had been injured. The ripples quickly turned to anger. The ant-like prey in front of it had actually wounded it. The fiendish mist in the surroundings seemed to have felt an invisible magnetism, and furiously flooded towards it. This guy, he is this strong now? Lei Peng was gaping as he stared. Handsome. Too handsome. Nian Lu's face was shocked. They both recognized Ma Fan's sword scripture. 5th grade Clear Sky sword scripture. It had been a spoil of victory after Darren killed Clear Sky old forefather. There were many in Vermilion Bird Camp that cultivated this sword scripture, since it was a 5th grade sword scripture, and was very attractive. However, Ma Fan was the first to cultivate Clear Sky sword scripture. To this level, he really was too strong. With one move, Ma Fan was able to wound the fiend soul beast that they could do nothing to. However, when they saw Ma Fan panting in the air, they realized that this move was at a great cost to Ma Fan. How are you? Lei Peng turned to ask Nian Lu. Battle spirit roiled in his eyes. I won't die. Nian Lu looked at the sky and smiled with slight difficulty. He is such a show-off, how can I let this guy take all the glory? The two rose into the sky and formed a triangle with Ma Fan. When Lei Peng and Nian Lu stood at his flanks behind him, Ma Fan's confidence increased. Between the three, a sharp killing intent formed. The terror in their eyes decreased. This big guy definitely has something good on his body. Lei Peng's eyes flashed viciously. Kill it. Nian Lu said maliciously. Troublesome. Ma Fan muttered. The three figures charged towards the fiend soul beast. Wei Sheng, Xieshan, and Zhongru flew through the fiendish mist at high speed. They had all detected the alarming presence in the distance, and knew a situation had occurred. They had hurriedly acted. Deep in thought, Zuomo was ignorant of everything else. The fire Yao art that had been spinning on the tip of his finger suddenly stopped on his palm, and burned silently. Zuomo's fingers slowly started to move. As his finger movements changed, the Ling power was like an undercurrent that silently wrapped around the wisp of fire. The fire wisp shook and became extremely unstable, as though it could extinguish at any moment. Pia pia pia. A string of light explosions sounded around the wisp of fire. The finger movements gradually became faster. The fire wisp shook more fiercely. Suddenly, it exploded. In this instant, Zuomo's eyes suddenly lit up. He seemed thoughtful. Fire Yao art, consciousness Ling power, controlling fire. He seemed to see a thread that connected them. Chapter 402. The results from Ming Juzi's investigations. Zuomo had received a letter from Ming Juzi. His expression was excited and filled with hope. It said that Ming Juzi had found some important clues. There was nothing that could make Zuomo happier than this. Nothing was more urgent. He didn't even stop to go look for Nan Yu and Song Zhe. Ming Juzi quickly appeared. He recognized Zuomo at a glance. Sir Xiaomo Gu, I am Ming Juzi. Zuomo felt this person was familiar, but he could not remember where he had seen Ming Juzi before. He politely responded, Sir Ming Juzi, good day. Ming Juzi did not waste words and casted a recording Yao art. In here is everything about the Battle of Sealed Extinction, Ming Juzi said. This battle is truly too ancient. There are very few records about it. I'm very sorry, this is all the information that I was able to find. Zuomo quickly scanned the contents inside the recording Yao art. The general era in which the Battle of Sealed Extinction occurred was not known, but it was approximately 25,000 years ago. It happened at that place that was called Constant Scarlet Jia. Supposedly, because the fiercest fighting had occurred near the Jia River. The Jia River entrance was destroyed in the fighting, and Constant Scarlet Jia became inaccessible, and disappeared from the Jia maps from then on. Zuomo looked hard at the ancient Jia map. This Jia map was extremely primitive. Zuomo's gaze landed on the several Jia surrounding Constant Scarlet Jia. From these he could generally judge the position of Constant Scarlet Jia, Skyfold Jia, Gentle Mountain Jia, and Dazzling Splendor Jia. These three bordered Constant Scarlet Jia. Do you know the general position of Constant Scarlet Jia based on the present Jia maps? Zuomo asked Ming Juzi. It is probably in the area of Bloody Sky Metropolis Jia. Ming Juzi had prepared well. Constant Scarlet Jia disappeared a long time ago, so it is hard to judge its position. But Skyfold Jia and Dazzling Splendor Jia are presently part of Bloody Sky Metropolis Jia. Gentle Mountain Jia is the territory of Xiuzha and is a dangerous area. If we use these Jia as references, Constant Scarlet Jia should be near the border of Bloody Sky Metropolis Jia. People have gone to explore this area before, but no one has found the existence of Constant Scarlet Jia. These questions strengthened Ming Juzi's belief that Xiaomo Gu was searching for treasure. Otherwise, why would he research the position of Constant Scarlet Jia? Bloody Sky Metropolis Jia. Zuomo was stunned. Anyone with some common knowledge would know this place. Wasn't that the place for the Yao hunt? From all the news reports, he knew Bloody Sky Metropolis Jia was where the heaviest fighting between Xiuzha and Yaoma took place. For Zuomo, this was not good news. Previously, he had decided to determine his present location, and then use transportation formations to leave the ghastly place. But hearing that Constant Scarlet Jia was in Bloody Sky Metropolis Jia, his heart instantly cooled halfway. He had heard the general story of how Bloody Sky Metropolis Jia had formed. Places like these were unsuitable for using transportation formations, because the interference caused by the formation was great. When the Yao hunt had been most fashionable in the past, the Xiuzha attempts in putting down transportation formations inside Bloody Sky Metropolis Jia had never succeeded. All of the supplies had been transported in on treasure ships. Zuemo had only a basic understanding of transportation formations. Because he couldn't predict the interference, he didn't dare to move rashly. Any small mistake in the transportation formation was terrifying. The reason that they had been transported to that ghastly place was that someone had changed the transportation formation in Skywater Jia. This plan seemed to have failed. Zuemo quickly discarded this idea. His attention was placed on another sentence. The bulk of the fighting was near the Jia River. This sentence caused Zuemo's eyes to light up. After searching through the fiendish mist all this time, they had discovered some trends. The closer to the center of the battlefield they went, the heavier the black fiendish energy was, and the stronger the fiend soul beasts. If it was like that, Zuemo quickly organized his thoughts and became more excited as he thought. This way, they could quickly find the past Jia River of Constant Scarlet Jia. The report speculated the reason that Constant Scarlet Jia had disappeared was that the Jia River from it towards other Jia had broke. This had caused the appearance that Constant Scarlet Jia had disappeared. If they could find the location of the previous Jia River, and then open the Jia River, this way, the chances they could leave would increase greatly. Zuemo repeatedly looked over the information to imprint it deep into his mind. Ming Juzi did not hurry him and patiently waited for Zuemo to finish reading. A while later, Zuemo raised his head in satisfaction. "This is your payment." Ming Juzi gathered his courage and said, "Sir Xiao Ge, I hope to use the reward to exchange for a Yao art." He then added, "If you have it." Zuemo paused. Ming Juzi's request was unexpected, but he still asked, "What Yao art?" "Waterwood light art." When Ming Juzi finished speaking, he looked closely at Zuemo. He was extremely nervous. Waterwood light art. In the Sea of Consciousness, Pu Yao paused upon hearing the name of the Yao art. He abruptly said to Zuemo, "Ask him if he knows Ming Duan." "Do you know Ming Duan?" Zuemo asked. Ming Juzi suddenly became excited. "That is my ancestor. Does Darren know ancestor?" In the Sea of Consciousness, Pu Yao was silent, and Wei sighed. "Pu, you know?" Actually, with Pu Yao's reactions, Zuemo knew that Pu Yao definitely knew Ming Duan, and their relationship wasn't just a casual one. However, he was slightly puzzled. He thought of Nanyu. Pu Yao's attitude back then had also been like this. "Tell him." Pu Yao did not reply and said, "The Yao art will be given, but he must follow you." As expected, the conditions were just the same as Nanyu. Zuemo muttered inside, but he still repeated this to Ming Juzi. Ming Juzi unhesitatingly bowed. This subordinate is willing to follow Darren. Giving the Waterwood light art to Ming Juzi, he hurriedly got him to leave. He was filled with curiosity and decided to get to the bottom of the situation. He straightforwardly asked Pu Yao, "Pu, did you know their ancestors? Why do you have their Yao arts?" After remaining silent for a while, Pu Yao finally spoke. "Their ancestors were once my subordinates." Zuemo stilled. He had thought that Pu Yao had a close connection to these clans, but definitely had not thought it would be this kind of relationship. "That year, in our final battle, we were trapped." Pu Yao looked into the distance, his voice reminiscent. "Everyone knew we could not escape. In order to make sure our lines of succession were not broken, we exchanged our Yao arts amongst ourselves. Set swore that whoever managed to survive was to pass on these Yao arts to their descendants." Zuemo was silent. A moment later he asked, "Then why do you require them to follow me? Just give it to them." I had not thought that their clans would have declined so far. Pu Yao twisted his mouth. "Even if I give the Yao arts to them, their clans might not be able to survive on their own. Getting them to follow you is for their benefit. Your other skills might be average, but your ability to survive is top-notch. If they follow you, they can at least survive." Zuemo's face instantly collapsed. "Why push your past debts onto me? You are my student. Who do I push them onto if not you?" Pu Yao's tone was righteous. He then smiled smugly. It is fortunate that you are not inheriting from Wei. TSK, otherwise you would really know what trouble is. Wei said with slight helplessness. Don't draw me into your matters. Finishing, he couldn't help but argue. All of the gravestone armors stand by their belief and oath. This is glory and strength. Zhou Emo and Pu Yao rolled their eyes at the same time. They didn't like Wei's conduct at all. Zhou Emo thought of another matter. He asked Pu Yao, then where did you get those Xiuzhi spells? Spoils of victory. Pu Yao had a proud expression. The Xiuzhi that died on my hands aren't normal ones. These spells are my collection. Aren't they good? Zhou Emo's eyes lit up. How many? Give them all to me. Why give them to you? Pu Yao rolled his eyes. I'm your student. Zhou Emo's tone was righteous. Even his expression was the same as Pu Yao. Pu Yao instantly choked. However, he reacted very quickly. It's not that I can't give them to you. What conditions? Zhou Emo was very bald. First, you are my student, but look at yourself. What you're best at is cultivating the Emo physique. That is unacceptable. Pu Yao had been discontent about this for a long time. On the side, Wei's eyes flashed. He knew that Pu Yao had started his attack. No way about it. Who made it that the Great Day Emo physique is powerful? We need to first preserve our lives first and then we can speak of other matters. Zhou Emo threw up his hands and said with helplessness on his face. Pu Yao was not defeated by Zhou Emo's words. When your Yao arts advance to a level, I will give you that level's spells. Zhou Emo wasn't a softie. Want to tempt Ji? Not that easy. He turned his face and said to Wei. Wei, teach me Emo's skills. Pu Yao's expression instantly became dark. Wei did not want to provoke Pu Yao, but he didn't want to only watch as Zhou Emo truly gave up on his Emo physique. He had inspected everyone in guard camp. No person's talent could compare to Zhou Emo. To be able to cultivate Great Day Emo physique to this level, this was talent. The inheritance of the gravestone armor was a matter of chance. If he gave up on this opportunity, he didn't know when he would encounter another one. Also, Zhou Emo seemed casual and offhand usually, and was never on the right path, but in reality, he had his own set of rules. He was not someone that would waver. He said with finesse, I gave an oath to not actively pass Emo skills on to you. Pu Yao instantly thought that it was not good. He knew just how clever his student was. As expected, Zhou Emo snickered after hearing that and said, This is easy. I know, you are not able to break your oath. Oh, definitely won't go against your oath. There are many ways. Look, I stole and learned on my own, you didn't teach me. Wei was moved. He might hold by his oath, but he was not a pedantic person. Otherwise, he would not have disguised himself as the female to fool Pu Yao. Pu Yao's gaze instantly became extremely unfriendly, but he also had a great headache. This boy was more and more bandit-like and was becoming harder to deal with. Adding on that Wei was drooling after this boy. Pu Yao felt his mind was a mess. Just as Pu Yao was feeling a headache, an icy voice interrupted the three people that were arguing. Xiao Emogu, you have been drafted. In 10 days, report to the main base of the Heavy Earth Corps. If you do not arrive by the deadline, you will be punished by military law. Zhou Emo raised his head in shock. He found that at some time unknown to him, he was surrounded by 4 people with icy presences. The 4 people had faintly unfriendly expressions and tightly surrounded him. Drafted? Heavy Earth Corps? Report in 10 days? Punishment by military law? Zhou Emo's mind blanked. What was this? Chapter 403 Collision. Do you think Xiao Emogu would accept the draft? Yu Zizhou said with bemusement. His gaze was poisonous and hateful. Probably, his best friend said without confidence. At this time, refusing the draft is punishable by military law. No matter how powerful his is, he won't dare to oppose a military corp. Haha. Yu Zizhou laughed smugly. No matter if he accepts or not, it won't be easy for him. Haha. This is an unwinnable situation. I will let him know how death is written. Your move is too poisonous. Haha. Your praise makes my heart bloom. Ha. The Heavy Earth Corps sent a draft notice for Xiao Emogu? Ji Liyu was slightly astonished. Ji Qing nodded repeatedly. Yu Zizhou did it. The commander of Heavy Earth Corps is his uncle. A lot of people know this. Yu Zizhou is not a good person as expected, Ji Liu said with a cold smile. But this move is vicious. What do we do? Ji Qing was slightly excited. Xiao Moji's good days have reached an end. Us. What does this have to do with us? Ji Liu's eyes flashed. Yu Zizhou has lost his reason to his hatred. Making moves like this at this time, what would the people above think? You mean? Ji Qing made a sound. He was not dumb and understood she meant. They will fight their battles, while we just sit and watch. Ji Liu said decisively. At such a sensitive time when we are losing at the front lines, there are no disadvantages to being passive. She changed the topic. I heard that Mushi has come back? And she's been back for a while now. Ji Qing nodded. He then reacted and said with astonishment. You think well of her? Find a time for us to visit Mushi. Ji Liu's eyes flashed with a different kind of light. I have a feeling that Palace Lakewood clan is going to end up with her as the main leader. That's not possible. Ji Qing's expression was disbelieving, and he said unconcernedly. She's so young. Also, she didn't have any great battle achievements on her trip this time. Let's wait and see. Ji Liu giggled. Mushi narrated her entire journey in detail without missing any detail. The old person in front of her was the person she respected the most, and was also the leader of Palace Lakewood clan. In her eyes he was also the wisest person. You say that the Xiuzha are also investigating this matter? The clan leader said in a deep voice. Yes, Mushi respectfully replied. We did not detect that they were hiding near us at all. If an accident had not occurred to them, their scheme might have worked. Stars in daytime. The clan leader murmured to himself. Which Darren would it be? Mushi sat respectfully and did not disturb the clan leader from thinking. Truthfully, even now, she did not fully understand the significance of stars in daytime. A while later, the clan leader shook his head and refocused. Mushi really could not contain her curiosity anymore. Clan leader, what is stars in daytime? The clan leader explained. The so-called stars in daytime is when one uses the power of the stars to heal the wounds of the body. If it is during the day, stars would appear on the entire sky. This is stars in daytime. Only the strongest of Yaoma possess this kind of unnatural power. He then grimaced and said, this kind of skill only exists in the legends. I have not heard of anyone in the present that possesses it. Also, because the manifestation indicates he is injured, a Darren would only cast such a secret technique in the most dangerous of times. Mushi finally understood. No wonder. Now you know why the Council of Elders is so panicked and reacted so urgently, the clan leader said with a smile. It shows great favor that the Elder Council gave such a mission to you. They are nurturing you. Now that the front lines are successively losing, it is a rare opportunity for you young people. Mishi calmly nodded. Shier will definitely work hard. A flash of satisfaction flashed through the eyes of the clan leader. His expression then became stern as he said, this man Lin Qian, you speak of as probably a Kunlun disciple, since he is able to pinpoint your origins immediately. The disciples of Kunlun are always outstanding. If you fight against them in the future, you cannot take them lightly. Yes, Mushi obediently replied. That calm and handsome figure appeared in her mind's eyes, and her fighting spirit rose. After returning, she had repeatedly thought back to the battle exchanges she had with Lin Qian. But even now, she could not find his weakness. She had to admit that the other's skills as a commander were higher than hers. She had the advantage of greater strength, but still could not do anything to the other. If this was a mock battle in a battle general class, it would be judged as her defeat. As expected from a Kunlun disciple. No matter if it was skill or conduct, it made others respect them. She was not demotivated, but it was the opposite. The other's appearance had caused her to understand how stupid and narrow it was for her to compare herself with only those inside the Yao Art House. This was her starting point. She truly understood that a vast world had appeared in front of her. Noticing the fighting spirit that rose in Mushi's eyes, the experienced clan leader instantly understood what Mushi was thinking and couldn't help but smile slightly. This matter will not end like this. Gaining the aid of a Darren that can cause the stars in daytime is worth any price. This we understand, the Darren of the Council of Elders understand, but the Xiuzha also understand. The clan elder was very calm. Since all clues now point to Wukong sword sect, then we have a direction. Mushi was slightly puzzled. In her view, they should not enter into the conflict over the matter. Almost as though he saw Mushi's puzzlement, the clan leader said with a smile, "Our palace Lakewood clan has some power, including influence in the territory of Xiuzha. However, the Council of Elders is probably also investigating in secret." "Then aren't we wasting our efforts?" Mushi asked. "Haha. It seems that we are wasting our efforts," the clan leader chuckled, and a sharp light flashed through his eyes. "But what if this Darren is an elder that survived from the 1,000-year battle?" Mushi first froze and then she unhesitatingly shook her head. "That is impossible." "Why is it impossible?" The clan leader's eyes narrowed. "I feel this is the most likely possibility. Otherwise, why did this Darren appear in the territory of Xiuzha? A Darren that could cause stars of daytime. It wouldn't be strange for them to have some life-saving secret technique. Also, this relates to a secret that not many people know." "What secret?" Mushi unconsciously asked. But when the words came out, she regretted it. It was almost not appropriate for her to ask this. Just as she was feeling insecure, the clan leader did not conceal and said, "In that great war, everyone knows that we Yaoma lost, but there are only a few that know some elders were captured. They were imprisoned in the Yao subduing tower. If I haven't guessed wrong, this unknown Darren most likely escaped from the Yao subduing tower." Mushi gaped and stared with wide eyes as she listened to the story. Seeing Mushi's expression, the clan leader smiled warmly. "Don't find it strange. If this Darren really escaped from the Yao subduing tower, then they are definitely worth our palace Lakewood clan investing all our power." He did not explain more. There were some things that Mushi would understand only when she reached a certain age. Heavy earth core? Swordsmanship felt puzzled. However, when he saw the attitudes of the surrounding four people, his face instantly darkened. "The draft notice has already been delivered to Sir's follower, Nanyu. Please report to the base of Heavy Earth Core within 10 days. One of the people stared at Swordsmanship and said in a deep voice. He did not know who he had offended, but for him, this order held no influence. "I have not heard of any Heavy Earth Core and don't have any interest." Swordsmanship's expression was icy. Even though he did not understand why the other had come to find him, but in his view, the other's attitude was enough to indicate a problem. Surrounded by four people, he was not afraid. "You wish to resist a military order?" This person's expression darkened, and his gaze became vicious. The other three people also had vicious glares as their bodies moved forward. A murderous energy instantly locked onto Swordsmanship. Even though they had heard that Swordsmanship had reconstructed the Wasteland Beast chessboard, but in the eyes of this military combat Yao, that wasn't anything. Those genius that boasted so much were like bubbles that popped on impact, once they were placed on the battlefield. The leading combat Yao smirked. His gaze when he looked at Swordsmanship was like he was looking at a lamb waiting for slaughter. He did not object to giving the other a lesson in the 10-finger prison. Which one of those proud young masters didn't obey under his hands? Swordsmanship's eyes narrowed and a cold light flashed through them. His upper body waved lightly like that of a clock pendulum. The pupils of the leading combat Yao suddenly shrank. In his field of vision, the Swordsmanship seemed to disappear. What shocked him even more was the other's decisiveness. Attacking proactively without a word. He was both shocked and angry. He bellowed, "You dare!" The movement of his hands were even faster than his angry shout. After long years of training, it was instinct to react once encountering danger. A ball of dirt yellow light lit up in his hand, and a shell of dirt yellow light appeared around him. This was one of the most widely used military intermediate Yao arts of the Heavy Earth Core. Earth Defense Art. Proven through combat, it had outstanding defensive capabilities. Being able to enter the third prison, his power was not weak. As one of the top combat Yao in the military corps, he had absolute confidence in his power. Even more, he also had 3 powerful fellows with him. 4 against 1, it made him feel as though he was using a sword to kill a chicken. Ping. A clear shattering sound caused his bellow to suddenly stop. A golden fist rapidly grew larger in his eyes. How was this possible? His expression froze. The earth defense art that he had always relied on was so easily broken by the other? A military intermediate Yao art at his full power was smashed to bits by one punch. Time seemed to suddenly slow at this moment. The other's fist grew larger and large in his eyes. Everything was so clear. He was even able to see the complex patterns that densely covered the golden armor on the other's fist. The terror was like a ferocious beast that escaped and rampaged in his body. Chapter 404. Kill. Zhuemo caught the terror in the eyes of this heavy earth core military official. His heart did not waver at all. He was completely ignorant of the strong mental blow his conduct had given this military official. Attacking without any hesitation. So decisive and sharp it was shocking. A gaze that was indifferent. All of this screamed that, although this guy seemed young, he was definitely an experienced fighter. This combat Yao suddenly realized that this youth was completely different than what he had imagined. At this time he did not have the time to consider this. The fist that carried the aura of death had reached him. Even though he knew this was the 10-finger prison, where there wasn't true death, his heart still shuddered, uncontrollably shuddered. His eyes were wide. As a professional combat Yao, even if his heart was terror-stricken, his training caused his body to still react instinctively. His body suddenly retreated, both of his hands crossing in front of his chest. A bellow that shook him to his core had vented all the terror inside. Earth Shield. A low-level Yao art that completely displayed this military official's combat instincts. A low-level Yao art, a Yao art that he could cast the fastest, was the only thing that could help him grasp the chance to survive in such a dangerous situation. The full-powered Earth Shield had a surface as smooth as a mirror. The color was deep brown, and gave people the feeling of being as hard as metal. Zhuemo's fist opened, and he lightly pressed his palm onto the Earth Shield. The force caused by momentum suddenly changing to nimbleness was such a conflicting feeling that this combat Yao almost spat blood. However, when he saw the golden script that lit up on Zhuemo's palm, his expression changed. Like poking through thin paper, the Earth Shield was like papier-mâché. That terrifying palm did not encounter any resistance, penetrating the Earth Shield and pressing against his body. Script palm. Abundant power came from this palm. He opened his mouth, wanting to warn his fellows, but he could not make a sound. He turned to a dash of white light and disappeared. This exchange was so rapid that the remaining three only seemed to wake up when that combat Yao turned to a ball of light. Their expressions changed. But they could not find Zhuemo's figure at all. One person's expression suddenly changed as he shouted, "Careful!" Pew! A strangely shaped straight sword entered the back of a combat Yao and exited through his chest. Another white light. The white light illuminated the shocked face of the third combat Yao. In his eyes, a golden figure rapidly magnified. An enormous pain came, and he turned to a streak of white light. The last combat Yao knew that he was definitely unable to escape. He suddenly howled. Strong yellow light flooded out of his body, and a fierce presence suddenly rose. Yellow sky heavy earth. That was the trump card of the heavy earth core's intermediate Yao arts because its power was closely comparable to high-level Yao arts. With a special method, it would gather all spiritual power one had in an instant and then explode. A suicide attack. Dying together with the enemy. This move's spiritual power manipulation was not hard, but there were few people who could use it. That was because the caster, other than knowing how to use it, had to have the determination to die. The combat Yao showed a vicious smile that was twisted under the thick yellow light. He leapt towards Zhuemo. He was fast, his figure disappeared from his position. Pew pew. Zhuemo did not move, and only stared coldly at the other. In midair, the combat Yao looked in shock at his broken legs. He stared until the white light drowned the image of Xiao Emogu in his vision. The figure that was icily staring at him. How was this possible? At the same time he turned to a ball of white light. A blade of ice appeared with a crisp sound in the air that had been empty before and shattered into pieces. Ice blade illusory formation. Zhuemo had set up a simple ice blade illusory formation around this combat Yao, back when he had summoned the noon blade. He only had to wait for the other to fall into his trap. There weren't as many Yao in the third prison as there were at the Wasteland Beast chessboard, but there were still many Yao that saw this fight. Every spectator had shocked expressions, and the sound of inhales came in waves. What happened before them surpassed their imaginations. The result of the fight surpassed their imaginations, and the process of the fight had also surpassed their imaginations. 4 trained combat Yao were killed by Xiao and Mogu in one exchange each, and not one was able to threaten Xiao and Mogu at all. The death of the last combat, Yao had left the strongest impression. The thick earthy yellow light, the shocking presence. Everyone could tell that this was a powerful Yao art that could rival high-level Yao arts. But the result was completely unexpected. A low-level ice blade illusory formation had caused this powerful Yao art and figure to crumble. This result seemed too ridiculous and could even be considered fantastical. After watching the battle and the shock subsided, it caused many spectators to think. Those that could enter the third prison were not weak, and each had above-average combat experience. Their combat experience told them if what happened in front of them occurred outside the 10-finger prison, the result would likely have been the same. A terrifying guy. A thread of warmth gradually rose in Zhuomo's icy eyes. He had exited his fighting mode. The exclamations and inhales of the spectators did not affect him at all. For him, this was just a fight that had nothing that was worthy of shock. However, when he thought of the words the combat Yao had said at the start, his brow couldn't help but furrow. He could disregard the other's undisguised threat, but Nan Yu and the others might be affected. This was slightly difficult. Zhuo muttered inside. When Zhuo got to the Wasteland Beast chessboard, he quickly found Nan Yu because Nan Yu was waiting for him. Before encountering Zhuo, Nan Yu was a normal little Yao. Right now, she was cultivating the high-level Yao art, South Sky Arrow art. But her vision and knowledge had not changed at their core. She was filled with worry when facing the power and authority of Heavy Earth Core. As a true Yao, she could understand the meaning of this draft notice better than Zhuo, especially at such a sensitive time with the Yao's repeated defeats at the front line. Seeing Zhuo, she was overjoyed. Darren. For an unknown reason, when she saw Darren, his peaceful face, his indifferent yet confident eyes, her restless heart quickly settled. Darren would definitely have a way. This thought unconsciously flashed through her mind but quickly took over it. You received the Heavy Earth Core draft notice? Zhuo did not waste words and asked Nan Yu. Yes, Darren. Nan Yu replied. At the same time, she cast a recording Yao art with her hand. She had recorded the contents of the draft notice inside. Since Darren already knew, then he definitely had a solution. She thought inside. Zhuo scanned it and understood. After thinking, he asked Nan Yu. If I do not want to accept the draft notice, is there any way? Darren, there is no solution. A voice came from behind him. It was Zhang Lin that had coincidentally came as well. His expression was also filled with worry. Beside him was Zhang Zhe. Seeing Zhuo's eyes turn to him, Zhang Lin grimaced and said, Darren, the Heavy Earth Core has sent the draft notice. If you disobey, they have the power to execute you. Is there no way at all? Zhuo's brow creased. Unless the military upper levels or the Council of Elders resolve this situation. Only the Council of Elders have the power to change this draft order. Zhang Lin's voice was bitter. The Heavy Earth Core is a regular core belonging directly to the military. The military high command has the right to interfere. The same can be said for the Council of Elders. They have the right to any affair. Which of you have a connection? Zhuo asked. The three shook their heads simultaneously. Zhuo saw this and understood. The Wisteria clan of the South Sky and the Grey clan had been in decline for too long. They were very far from the centers of power. Darren, maybe I have a solution. Mingju Zi, who had rushed over to them, had managed to hear this. Zhuo had let him leave, but he had not gone far. He had coincidentally heard some people passing by him discussing the conflict between Xiao Emogu and the Heavy Earth Core. He had hurriedly ran over to search for Zhuo. After Zhuo introduced Mingju Zi as his new follower, everyone instantly felt closer. Darren, this was definitely done by Yu Zizhou. Mingju Zi only had to think to understand what had gone on. Yu Zizhou? Who is that? Zhuomo's face was puzzled. Seeing the puzzlement on Darren's face, Mingjuzi couldn't laugh or cry. He could only explain. Darren, do you remember the battle when you defeated 26 Yao? Yu Zizhou was the second one. Oh him. Zhuo had a small impression. However, the one that gave him the deepest impression was the masked expert from the Blue Flower family. The military commander of Heavy Earth Corps is Yu Zizhou's uncle. Having spent a long time among experts, Mingjuzi was familiar with this kind of information. Yu Zizhou has worked very hard to pursue Ji Liu. He probably was thinking of Ji Liu when he challenged Darren, but he lost great face when he was defeated by Darren. I heard that Yu Zizhou was a very small-hearted person. Didn't think it was really so. Mingjuzi felt great disdain at Yu Zizhou's conduct. It really is despicable that Yu Zizhou is using such tricks, methods that should not be seen by the public, at such a sensitive time. Listening to Mingjuzi speak of the cause and effect, Zhuo and the others finally understood. What solution do you have? Zhuo asked. It might not succeed, Mingjuzi said in a heavy voice, but it is worth a try. We need to make a big fuss. Big fuss? Zhuo asked. Yes. Only when it is a big fuss will they not dare to do whatever they want, Mingjuzi said. However, this will only make them cautious. In terms of law, they have the power to draft Darren. And then, Zhuo heard that Mingjuzi had following plans. They will definitely persist in the drafting you. And this would deepen the upper level's dislike of them. We only need to show slight weakness and capture the sympathy of the upper levels, Mingjuzi said calmly. With the potential that Darren has shown, adding to our manufactured noise, there is a high possibility that we can get the upper levels to interfere. Nan Yu and the others lit up. This was a very outstanding plan. Even Zhuo couldn't help but nod inside. Mingjuzi's plan was very plausible. But maybe, an even crazier plan gradually formed in his mind. Chapter 405. Yu Heng, the Heavy Earth Core draft of Xiao Emogu, is filled with the stench of scheming and trickery. As everyone knows, Yu Zizhou's uncle Yu Heng is the military commander of Heavy Earth Corps. One does not need an outstanding imagination to easily smell the fishiness here. Xiao Emogu's strength is undoubted. Even when surrounded by 4 combat Yao, he could easily defeat the other. It is not hard to accept such an accomplished youth giving his aid for this great war. However, we are suspicious. What would such an accomplished youth face if he enters the Heavy Earth Corps? Becoming cannon fodder is the most likely result. The draft notice by the Heavy Earth Corps is completely without precedent. This is a very bad beginning. We do not need to say more of what has occurred between Xiao Emogen and Yu Zizhou. If a certain youth of great potential appears in the future, and is conscripted by the draft call, how is this different than being bandits? Or is it to say, if one does not have a background, with no protection from a Yao art house, then they are unable to even protect their own freedom? Yu Heng felt terrible inside and out. He looked darkly at his vice commander. The sharp gaze of the corps commander made the vice commander feel as though there was a blade at his back. Cold sweat poured down. Speak, what happened? Yu Heng's voice seemed to come between his teeth with dark coldness. The vice commander knew that Darren was infuriated. He hadn't expected that the matter would develop so poorly. He said weakly, A few days ago, young master said he needed a draft notice. So you gave it to him? Yu Heng's facial skin shook as his eagle-like eyes stared at the vice commander. The vice commander finally lost control of his terror. He knew that Darren was truly angry. His face suddenly became pale and he stammered. This subordinate. Trash. Face black, Yu Heng's right hand suddenly grabbed at the air. Like an exploding watermelon, the vice commander was crushed and his limbs were sent flying. A while later, his anger finally subsided slightly. His dark gaze stared at the floor covered in limbs and flesh. He sank into deep thought. He usually favored his nephew and had high hopes for him. He hadn't expected his nephew to be so stupid, to do such a thing at such a sensitive time, and for someone to have gotten a hold of it and broadcasted it far and wide. The entire Heavy Earth Corps was now in an extremely reactive situation. He was deeply disappointed in Yu Zizhou. He knew that Yu Zizhou had been pursuing Ji Liu. He had also supported it, but he hadn't thought that Yu Zizhou would be so small-minded to do such a stupid thing for intangible gains. Those Yao channels were continuously discussing and repeating this matter these days. Thinking about this, murderous intent rose. Those Yao channels should all die. But the one who should die the most was that Xiao Mo Gu. Yu Heng was cunning. The situation was becoming fiercer over time, like oil being poured onto a fire. He could see with a glance that someone was stirring up trouble from the shadows. But who was it? To make trouble for him at this time? His gaze flashing, he calmed down. Several names came to mind. These people might not be the mastermind, but they would not refuse the chance to add stones when he was drowning. It is not so easy to see my humiliation. Yu Heng recovered his calm. The harsh scent of blood in the room caused his to wrinkle his brow in discontent. He shouted towards outside the door. Come, Darren. A guard came in. When he saw the ground meat on the ground, his expression couldn't help but change. Yu Heng said indifferent as though nothing had happened. Clean this up. Yes. Swept by the corps commander's gaze, the guard's scalp tingled and coldness shot up from his feet. Yu Heng walked out of the room without turning looking back. Yu Zizhou's limbs were cold. He had never expected the matter would transform into this. A person that was akin to an ant, no matter how outstanding his talent was, what was the use? In this era, if a person did not have a background or support, wasn't he a lamb that would be slaughtered? The gazes that had once been admiring and respectful in the past had all changed. Instead, they were gazes of disdain, scorn. No one was willing to come close to him. Even the teachers of the Yao Art House shook their heads when they saw him as though they were pitying him, and sighing. Why was it like this? He balled his hands into fists so tightly his fingers went white. He was with furious and seethed with hatred. That one Xiao Mo Gu. Just a Xiao Mo Gu. Just that one was enough to make him an outcast? Were these people all blind? He suddenly saw his best friend walking towards his direction. He seemed to have found someone to talk to and instinctively walked towards his best friend. But his best friend's expression changed when he made eye contact. He pretended not to see Yu Zizhou and walked towards another direction. Yu Zizhou's feet were nailed to the ground. He looked dazedly at the disappearing figure of his best friend. Yu Heng stood with a warm smile in front of the reporters. I had not expected that our drafting of Xiao Mo Gu would be of concern to the public. Truthfully, this was unexpected to me. I have also heard what everyone has speculated about this matter, so today, I have come to make some clarifications. All the reporters opened their ears. Many people think that this matter was caused by my nephew, Zizhou, scheming in the shadows in order to take revenge on Xiao Mo Gu. Kiki, Zizhou is my nephew. I have great affection for him. I do not refute any of this. There is one point about this matter that everyone has correctly guessed. I learned about Xiao Mo Gu from my nephew. Whoosh, the reporters all rumbled. They hadn't thought that Yu Heng would not refuse to admit it. He really was too arrogant. Many people showed furious expressions. Yu Heng's hands made a motion to calm the press down. His presence as the military commander of a corps instinctively came out. The reporters that had become restless started to calm down. In contrast to everyone's malicious speculations, my nephew admires Xiao Mo Gu very much. Due to this, he had done his best to recommend Xiao Mo Gu to me. It definitely was not done out of maliciousness. The people below all had disbelieving looks. There were even those that laughed. Yu Heng seemed to not have heard it. His expression became grave as he said, "Truthfully, as a soldier, no matter if it is me or our heavy earth corps, we have prepared to sacrifice ourselves at such a dangerous time. I will say this now. I hope the Council of Elders will consider our heavy earth corps first. We have already finished preparing to go to the front lines." All of the reporters were stunned by Corps Commander Yu Heng's request. The losses at the front lines had greatly impacted morale. Some corps even started to fear combat. Now Corps Commander Yu Heng was publicly requesting to go to war. The impassioned words instantly ignited everyone. The clapping was like thunder. Yu Heng did not show joy and said in a heavy voice, "Life and death is not the most important in my eyes, but if defeat is caused due to the lack of strength, then we have to bear the blame. Everyone might feel we are domineering, that we have other intentions, But you do not know how desperate and desirous we are of talent. Why are we so desperate? Why so desirous? Because we know how heavy the responsibilities placed on our shoulders are. Because we know we cannot disappoint everyone's hopes. Clap, clap, clap. The reporters below were excited, their faces completely red. A dignified expression came onto Corps Commander Yu Heng's face as he slowly said, "Mr. Xiao Mo Gu, we will wait for you with the position of an officer. Please give your strength to help my heavy earth corps." The entire room was silent. All the reports were shocked by these words. Such skill. Ming Juzi's face was pale as he murmured. All of his scheming and moves turned to dust in front of Yu Heng's performance. In front of Corps Commander Yu Heng's experience, Ming Juzi felt just how poor his performance had been. What made him feel even more hopeless was that his plan had actually set the stage to help Corps Commander Yu Heng. Nan Yu and the others also had white faces. In one night, public opinion had turned against them. Everyone praised Corps Commander Yu Heng and started to support this drafting of Xiao Mo Gu. There were people that continuously came out to call Xiao Mo Gu in hopes he would accept the draft notice. He was offered an officer position, suggesting how sincere Corps Commander Yu Heng was. Those people that assumed that Corps Commander Yu Heng was planning on making Xiao Mo Gu cannon fodder. But open your eyes and look. The position of officer's lowest requirement was to be a silver battle general. It was definitely an important position in the Corps. If Xiao Mo Gu still refused the draft call in this situation, that would be unacceptable. Zhua Mo was also full of admiration. It had to be said that Yu Heng's move was beautiful. Ming Juzi had not expected it, he had not expected it, and the cunning Pu Yao had also not expected it. Looking at the pale Ming Juzi and others, he smiled. He knew what Nan Yu and the others were worried about. The present situation for Xiao Mo Gu was akin to riding a tiger and being unable to get off. If he still refused the draft notice, Xiao Mo Gu's popularity would plummet and his reputation would be stained. But that was for Xiao Mo Gu. To Zhua Mo, who was only able to appear in the 10-finger prison. Was there a real consequence? His reputation in the Yao world? What was that? Previously, he had been worried about the safety of Nan Yu and the others. Now this had been solved. With the matter the subject of so much attention, the Heavy Earth Corps would not dare to seek revenge against Nan Yu and the others. Regardless of whether Zhua Mo accepted the draft notice or not, they had no reason to make trouble for Nan Yu and the others. This also caused the crazy plan that Zhua Mo had originally prepared to not have a place to be used. In the sea of consciousness, Pu Yao's face was dark. His narrow bloody pupil was like a blade flashing with an alarming light. He said coldly, "Good move. Such a good move. TSK, there is someone this interesting." The usually warm and humble Wei also showed dislike. We cannot let him off so easily. Putting down his worries about Nan Yu and the others, Zhua Mo's gaze turned towards the impassioned Yu Heng in the Yao channel. He felt like he had swallowed a fly. Of course we can't let this guy go. Zhua Mo narrowed his eyes that flashed viciously. The three miraculously had a consensus of opinion. Let's get him. Chapter 406. Let's have a fight. Yu Heng is really an old fox, Ji Liu praised. Yes. I didn't think that this guy was so cunning. Ji Cheng still didn't believe it, and it was hard to blame him. Before this, he wouldn't even look at the corps commander of a regular corps. In the eyes of these large clans, the subordinate corps of the Council of Elders were the true elite. The regular corps were stronger than local corps, but their prestige and reputation was low. But this time, he had been convinced that the regular corps also had powerful people. Do not underestimate others. Ji Liu rolled her eyes. Yu Heng is a golden battle general in the end, so how could he be weak? But comparing the actors of this scene, Yu Zizhou is really lacking. There isn't anyone good in this generation of the Jade family. TSK, it seems that Yu Zizhou is completely out of the game. This kind of trash, old sis will definitely look down on. Ji Cheng said as he shook his head. Ji Liu said unconcernedly, I didn't have much interest in him to start with. If it wasn't for fact he is from the Jade family, I wouldn't have even bothered with him. I don't know who will become my brother-in-law, Ji Cheng muttered. Then he seemed to think of something. but seeing Xiao Emoge losing, old sis probably feels very good. He's slightly good. Ji Liyu's brows relaxed, but then quickly creased again as she said. However, I feel that Xiao Emoge wouldn't lie down so easily. In front of Yu Heng the old fox, he definitely has no chance of making a comeback, Ji Cheng said confidently. That is not so certain. Ji Liyu unconsciously wanted to say this, but when the words reached her mouth, she finally reacted and swallowed them back down. That figure floated in her mind. She had a strong feeling this guy wouldn't give up here. Fleeing without fighting definitely was not this guy's style. What? You aren't going to help that little guy who you were interested in? The fire-faced person said curiously. This guy's situation isn't good right now. I'm not so idle as to make time for such things, Tian Lu said disgruntledly. Weren't you very interested in him all this time? Didn't you praise him for his outstanding talent and limitless potential? The fire-faced person asked with shock. You who dislike salt does not need to worry about those of us who like salted carrots. Qian Lu was so lazy he didn't even open his eyes. The fire-faced person was enraged. I hate eating carrots. His tone suddenly changed. You really aren't worried? Facing the fire-faced person's nagging, Qian Lu was helpless. He could only raise his face. In any case, it is just losing some popularity. So what? He won't lose his life. Oh, that's right. The fire-faced person reacted. Also, that boy isn't one take an attack like that lying down. So you are actually interested in the boy. Yu Heng's move caused both he and the Heavy Earth Corps to become famous. No matter if it was the normal citizens that were truly fooled by him, or his opponents that knew him, they were filled with praise. Morale at the Heavy Earth Corps increased. Everyone raised their heads and puffed their chests. They were mentally satisfied and full of reverence when they looked at the Corps commander. Yu Heng was very proud. The effect that the plan he had twisted his mind for had far surpassed his expectations. He had not been criticized for this matter. It was the opposite. Instead, the military command had given him rewards for this. It had to be said that the geniuses of the Yao art houses did not like to take positions in the military, unless it was the corps that were directly subordinate to the Council of Elders. These were the positions that were attractive to them. The military command had always felt great pain about this but never had a solution. The draft call of the Heavy Metal Corps caused their eyes to light up. Even more importantly, Yu Heng had made this matter beautiful. It hadn't caused trouble for them, but made the military seem more upright. Even more, at this time when they were losing on the front lines, the words of the Corps commander Yu Heng said, had caused the low morale of the soldiers to greatly increase. Yu Heng's days became even better. As to whether or not Xiao Emoge would come, he was not concerned. After the storm this time, his reputation had shot up. Some citizens had put his name forward for the position of the first corps commander of the regular corps. No matter if Xiao Emoge came or not, he had benefited. As for actually being sent to the front lines, he was not afraid. His position as corps commander had been earned by rising up through the ranks. It really was profit without any costs. He smugly watched the Yao channels. In the past, he did not like these things that were full of wasted words, but he liked them very much now. Listening to the reporters repeatedly praising him, that made him feel better than anything else. Yu Heng recognized the report in the Yao channel. Yesterday, it had been him that had praised Yu Heng greatly, the tiger of the regular corps commanders. A true warrior, the bravest of the generation. Yu Heng almost felt embarrassed from hearing the praises. How would this guy compliment him today? Yu Heng relaxed his body and laid halfway down as he thought and ate fruit. In this period of time, the matter of the drafts has really been turbulent and caused a great and unprecedented discussion. Every side has been continuously speaking of their position. The words of Corps Commander Yu Heng have showed us the sincerity of the Heavy Earth Corps. However, from beginning to end, we have missed the voice of one of the most important participants, Xiao Emoge. From the start, Xiao Emoge has not showed himself, and has not ever given his opinion on this matter. What we are able to see is only Xiao Emoge 1-on-4 battle, and him defeating 4 Heavy Earth Corps combat Yao in the recording Yao arts. But today, Xiao Emoge has finally made a statement. Yu Heng was unconcerned. No matter if it was emotionally or rationally, he had the advantage. No matter what Xiao Emoge said, he could not win. In the Yao channel, Xiao Emoge's expression was cold. It was the first time Yu Heng saw Xiao Emoge's appearance. He paused slightly so young, and then relaxed. His eyes were filled with amusement. What tricks would the other play? I still refused the draft call of the Heavy Earth Corps. The reporter hurriedly asked, "Why? Do you not want to give your aid for this great war?" "No." Xiao Emoge shook his head. "Then why?" the reporter pressed. Xiao Emoge showed an expression of struggle. Seeing the direction the interview was going, the reporter had a sense of urgency inside. On the outside, he had to act as a friendly guide. "If you have any difficulties, please tell everyone. I believe everyone will understand." Xiao Emoge still shook his head. "Is it because of cultivation? You are at an important time in your cultivation?" The reporter used his imagination. "No." Xiao Emoge shook his head. "Is it because of some predicament that cannot be altered?" The reporter gritted his teeth and asked. "No." Xiao Emoge shook his head. "Then why?" The report was going to go crazy. Hesitating once again, Xiao Emoge asked uncertainly, "Do I really have to say it?" "I'm begging you, please say it." The reporter wanted to cry. "But saying it, I feel it wouldn't be good," Xiao Emoge slowly said. The reporter had tears on his face. At this time, every Yao that was watching was crying. Yu Heng snorted and smirked. This guy was good at pretending to be mysterious, but his moves really sucked. "No matter the reason, please say it," the reporter said with the last of his energy. "Then I'll say it." Xiao Emoge looked innocently at the reporter. Please say," the reporter panted and nodded. Xiao Emoge suddenly paused. He retracted his playful expression and became grave. All the Yao that were watching this unconsciously held their breath. Every Yao had the same feeling that Xiao Emoge's following words were definitely very important. Because Xiao Emoge, who had closed his eyes, suddenly opened them with a sharp gaze. Because they are too weak. Too weak. Intimidated by Xiao Emoge's presence, the reporter instinctively asked. It was 4 against 1, a fight with an inexperienced youth like me, who has never stepped on the battlefield. Yet they were defeated in 1 round. Is this the strength of our regular corps? There was indifference in his tone, recounting the event without emotion. Yet he was able to convey his deep disappointment. "I am very disappointed. This is our Heavy Earth Corps. This is the Heavy Earth Corps that we have hoped would be able to protect us. This is the Heavy Earth Corps that we are hoping can win this great war." The reporter was completely stunned. Yu Heng was stunned. All the Yao that were watching the Yao channel were stunned. In their ears, there was only Xiao Emoge's icy voice echoing. "So I refuse. I have never thought that a regular corps would be this weak. 4 against 1. But where was your teamwork? Where was the basic strategy that combat Yao should have? Where was it? I believe that there are many who have seen the recording Yao art. Can you find even the slightest trace of these things from there? And this is our regular corps?" Xiao Emoge shook his head, his expression serious, as he seemed to talk to himself. "A corps that is in such decline saying they want to draft me, should I feel proud? No. I feel embarrassed. This is an embarrassment. Even though I have never joined the army before, in my mind, the army was powerful, so powerful it required our reverence. A qualified combat Yao may not match an expert in a one-on-one battle, but when it is 4-on-1, such a poor performance cannot be forgiven." Among the silence, Zuomo's voice was clear. "My personal experiences fill me with bewilderment. The so-called corps commander of this kind of corps, is he really a qualified battle general?" In front of the Yao channel, Yu Heng was so angry his face was white. His breath was stuck at his chest, unable to go up or down. Maybe a 4-on-1 battle cannot reveal the problem. Then, in the Yao channel, Xiao Emoge that had thrown out such shocking words suddenly raised his head. He raised his right arm, his finger pointing straight as though Yu Heng was right in front of him. "Let's have a fight. Gold General Corps Commander Yu Heng." The clear voice and the domineering presence were imprinted in the minds of countless people, alongside the figure of the youth giving a battle challenge with his arm. Chapter 407. Acceptance of battle invitation. He dares. He dares. Trash. Trash. Kill you. Kill you. The guard heard the shouts of the corps commander inside the room. And what followed immediately after was the sound of something crashing against the ground. His head shrank back. Thinking about the flesh and gore scattered around the room last time, his heart tightened. Darren was really frightening when angry. He was also slightly puzzled. Who had caused Darren to be so furious? These days, all of the Heavy Earth Corps had been immersed in joy. Who wasn't speaking positively of the Heavy Earth Corps? Everyone felt there was a shine to their faces. Supposedly, the military high command would visit the Corps in a few days. Which unperceptive person was seeking death? The guard cursed inside, but before he could think it through, a figure came out of the room. It was Darren. He jumped and hurriedly bowed. However, Darren's face was dark and did not raise his head. Whoa, something major probably happened. This guy, Ji Cheng's expression was frozen. A moment later, his soul came back and he stammered. Is he crazy? Too domineering. Too arrogant. Ji Liyu did not seem to hear it. She looked dazedly at the youth inside the Yao channel that was pointing at her. The youth on the Yao channel had a gaze like a sword that did not retreat. That straight finger was the declaration of war. Too crazy. Ji Cheng shook his head and murmured as though he wanted to make himself believe it. He did not even know what he was saying. Too exhilarating. A long while later, the soulless Ji Cheng and the dazedly Ji Liyu resumed normality, but the two sank into silence. They did not know what to say, and did not know what language to use to describe their mood at the moment. A youth that was not yet 20 had publicly challenged the commander of a corps. Such an insane event had never happened before in history, but it really happened in front of them. They had seen the entire process with their own eyes. Old sis, do you think Yu Heng will accept? Ji Cheng suddenly asked Ji Liyu. Ji Liyu unconsciously bit her lips. Definitely. Yes. Ji Cheng's tone was very complex. Yu Heng will definitely accept. Xiao Mo Ge definitely would have predicted that Yu Heng will accept. It really is crazy. He repeatedly said crazy, as though this would be able to truly express his present emotions. We all underestimated him. Ji Liyu's gaze became clear again. Her usual intelligence also returned. She was very calm. Xiao Mo Ge dares to give this sort of challenge means that he has something he can rely on. Ji Cheng nodded repeatedly. If he had some underestimation and scorn for Xiao Mo Ge before, then he was an admirer of Xiao Mo Ge now. Such a domineering and arrogant challenge, it was so exciting just thinking about it. He wouldn't even dare to think about it, much less do it. No matter if Xiao Mo Ge won or lost, Ji Cheng was completely subdued by the other's bravery and domineering. Without realizing it, Xiao Mo Ge had become Ji Cheng's idol. Even Ji Cheng did not realize this. He asked urgently, is Xiao Mo Ge able to defeat Yu Heng? No matter how powerful Xiao Mo Ge is, if it is a duel, he definitely is not Yu Heng's match. However, Ji Liyu's eyes flashed. They probably will compete in war chess. What Xiao Mo Ge disparaged was Yu Heng's skill as a battle general. If Yu Heng wants to wash this shame away, he must respond in this area. The only thing that can realize the two of them fighting is naturally war chess. Is Xiao Mo Ge also a powerful battle general? Ji Cheng's mouth was wide, his face disbelieving. Most likely. Ji Liyu said to herself. Since he dares to make the challenge, then he definitely would have some chance of victory. Yu Heng is a gold battle general. To have a chance of victory, he can only be a gold battle general. Ji Cheng exclaimed. He felt his brain wasn't enough to use killing 26 in a row, reconstructing a prison. All of this showed Xiao Mo Ge's powerful individual strength. With Xiao Mo Ge's age, it was enough to shock Ji Cheng. Now his old sis was telling him that Xiao Mo Ge was also a golden battle general. It was too crazy, too crazy. Impossible. Impossible. Ji Cheng unconsciously murmured. He felt his brain was short-circuiting. How was it possible? It was absurd. A guy of the same age as him that not only possessed great individual power, but was also a golden battle general. Was the world crazy? Had golden battle generals become lettuce selling on the market? His mind was ringing. But old sis' tone was so confident that he believed it. Every time old sis used this tone to arrive at a conclusion, then the result of this matter basically would not change too much. From young until now, it had always been so. How was it possible? Jiqing suddenly felt a deep blow. His heart felt bitter. Compared to Xiao Emogu, he felt he was like a pig. The difference between them was so great that he could not gather the courage to compare the two of them. Ji Liu noticed her younger brother's expression. She paused slightly and then understood. She lightly said, I feel that many people were wrong from the start. Wrong about what? Ji Cheng's face was puzzled. Xiao Emoji's identity is still a riddle. Many people assume that he is from a poor background and has no foundation. Ji Liu shook her head and said, looking at it now, this speculation is absurdly incorrect. Xiao Emogu isn't from a poor background, and his origins are definitely not simple. He may even have a very important background. Why? Jiqing had not refused from his shock. It is possible to be from a poor background and still have powerful Yao arts, but if he is a powerful battle general, how can he have humble birth? Xiao Emogu either is from a prestigious family background, or he has a famed teacher. Ji Liu explained. Right. Jiqing realized. The other's birth might be even higher than our Ji family, and have a deeper history. Ji Liu said. Ji Cheng's gray face finally recovered some blood. Thinking about it this way, he felt much better. I really anticipate this. How was it? Was my performance not bad? Zuemo smugly asked Wei. Wei smiled slightly. Very good. Zuemo wouldn't be fooled by Wei's humble and gentle appearance anymore. In front of the cunning and sly Pu Yao, Wei was definitely playing Mr. Good. Wei was one that was persistent in his beliefs. However, Zuemo discovered through this matter that of the three of them, this guy had the highest skill at fooling people. Full of righteousness, a good appearance. Even if he was making a great lie, Wei's eyes would still be filled with sincerity. Zuemo was suspicious that this guy was practiced in doing things in the shadows, while showing a pious face. This guy was a charlatan. But it had to be said that after Wei's teachings, Zuemo's performance could be said to be perfect. What should we do now? Zuemo asked Pu Yao curiously. Do I really have to fight him? No need, no need. Pu Yao showed a very proud smile, and then smiled mysteriously. You will know soon. The matter of Xiao Emogu publicly challenging Yu Heng became an even hotter topic. The recording Yao art of his 1-against-4 battle was spread far. After seeing the entire battle, many people couldn't help but agree with Xiao Emoji's words. It was true. From the recording Yao art, the performances of the 4 combat Yao were not worthy of praise. Yu Heng's impassioned performance changed meaning in front of this recording Yao art. The rumors about the heavy earth core in the cities became even more rampant. The heavy earth core were rotten from the core. There were secrets about the identity of Commander Yu Heng's gold battle general status. Yu Heng deeply experienced what it felt like to fall from the heavens into the pits of hell. The military command that had been praising him previously changed their attitudes, and their tone became stern. This time, they had come out and scolded him. They were all straightforward and old generals. These old generals did not care about showing off. However, the level of the military decreasing and the loss of combat capabilities were subjects of their deep hatred. Even more, the front lines had just experienced losses. Some people even speculated the reason that Fierce Fire Corps and Ice Frost Corps were exterminated were because they were like the Heavy Earth Corps, rotten, in decline, and unable to stand up in a fight. The pressure on Yu Heng shot up. His face was dark every day. He threw his nephew Yu Zizhou far away. The mood in Heavy Earth Corps was very low. The experienced Yu Heng knew that if the other dared to challenge him like this, then they had tricks to follow up with. He could see it clearly. No matter if he won or lost, there was no benefit to him. If he won, the opponent was a youth and the victory was not honorable. It was expected and nothing to boast about. But if he lost, he didn't dare think of this result. Such poisonous schemes. Yu Heng's face was black. A while later, he raised his head. His eyes were murderous. He squeezed the words through his teeth. Accept the battle. The second day, an enormous war chess was being set up on the Wasteland Beast chessboard. All of the topography of this war chess was personally designed by famed war chess master He Yong. To set up this match, the famed water caltrip Yao Art House had sent large numbers of teachers that spent 3 whole days constructing it. This was a war chess match that was unprecedented. Gong Sun Cha swallowed a fiend soul beast bead and channeled his core scripture. He continuously absorbed soul base source from the fiend soul beast bead. By now, his core scripture was in its beginning form, and its power had started to show, especially when he was giving commands. He didn't need to rely on even one talisman to be able to pass his orders to every soldier. His core scripture flowed. His mind was able to maintain clarity from beginning to end. For a battle general, that was more important than anything. His sudden increase in skill did not cause any joy to appear on his face. Thinking about his defeat last time, there seemed to be a fire burning inside. He planned on challenge that old guy today. This time, he had to defeat the other. Entering war chess like usual, he sent a challenge to the other without fear. Previously, whenever he sent out the challenge, the other would unhesitatingly start a match. But the chess match did not start today. Gong Sun Cha frowned. The Lil Miss in times of battle was a completely different person than usual. At this moment, a dark voice sounded next to his ear. There's a new match, do you dare to come? New chess match? Who cares if it is a new chess match opponent or an old one? I will defeat all of them. Full of motivation, Gong Sun Cha was ignited by these light words. Come. Chapter 408. The Choices of a Beginner? Gong Sun Shitty? Zhuo Mo had an expression of realization. So it was not Pu Yao that was going to battle. Then he felt puzzled. What trick did you use to pull Gong Sun Shitty in? Hehe. Pu Yao was very proud. It took a lot of effort. But luckily his consciousness is stronger than yours, so there are ways. Zhuo Mo became slightly embarrassed and was shocked at the revelation. Gong Sun Shitty's consciousness is stronger than mine? Humph. Now you know the difference. You learn everything, know a little of everything, but have mastered none. Pu Yao had been unsatisfied with Zhuo Mo for this for a long time. He naturally would not let go of the chance to attack him. This way is good as long as I can survive. If I can survive and can earn Jingshi. Zhuo Mo's expression was unconcerned, and this infuriated Pu Yao, causing him to roll his eyes. Wei, on the other hand, sat in a dignified manner on the side, with the trademark righteous and dignified smirk on his face. Zhuo Mo found they were looking down on the battlefield from a very strange angle. It was clear Gong Sun Shitty had not noticed their presence. Zhuo Mo looked around, and was very curious. He asked, will Yu Heng be able to see Gong Sun Shitty? Pu Yao ignored him. Wei explained, they can't see him. Other than the 3 of us, no one can see him. So it's like that. Zhuo Mo had an expression of comprehension. He then rubbed his hands eagerly. Gong Sun Shitty will definitely make that stupid jade cry and crawl away. Pu, you're vicious. The other is not that weak. Pu shook his head, his expression serious. Yu Heng is a gold battle general. His strength cannot be underestimated. Gold battle general? Zhuo Mo stilled and said disbelievingly. No way. That guy looks like he's a con man. He's a gold battle general? Pu Yao snorted and said. You look down at him? He's a true gold battle general. For people like you, he can just reach out with his fingertip and destroy your whole lot. Zhuo Mo's face was thick and immune to attacks of this degree. He said cheerfully. Destroy me? He must first defeat Gong Sun Shitty. Right, what is Gong Sun Shitty's skill level now? He probably won't have any problems defeating this old guy, right? Hard to say. The smile on Pu Yao's face disappeared. His expression was stern. I've never fought against Yu Heng before, and do not know what his skills are like. In any case, I believe in Gong Sun Shitty. Zhuo Mo had a confident expression. Pu Yao was slightly astonished. You are this confident, him? Shitty is a genius. Zhuo Mo said without hesitation. The usual Gong Sun Cha was shy and bashful. Even when speaking, his tone and presence were soft. But when he fought, he seemed to become a whole other person. It might have been due to the influence of Pu Yao, or that his innate personality possessed this kind of insanity. But the Gongsun Cha during battle was daring and heated, vicious and merciless, striking without hesitation. But there were few that knew under this layer of insanity was a glacier-like iciness. With one sweep he detected the difference of the environment compared to usual. The complex environment, flora he had never seen before, and strange energy flows that seemed real. Such an enormous chessboard. Gongsun Cha stood on the top of a mountain peak and looked down at the vast and borderless stretches of land. The wind blew across his handsome face. The mountain wind was very strong and the hairs in front of his forehead swung in the wind and danced in his vision. They quickly became ruffled and tangled. He did not seem to detect it. There was a trace of a smile on the corner of his mouth. His gaze looked into the distance. In the eyes that swept around occasionally, a dot of fire grew, igniting when it met the wind and began to burn. The scale of this chessboard far surpassed any he had fought on before. He closed his eyes and spread his arms. In the darkness, Yu Heng opened his eyes which flashed. A moment later, he showed a satisfied expression. This period of quiet meditation these past few days had not been wasted. He could feel that his mental state had been attuned to its peak. The franticness and the fury of the past days had all disappeared. At this moment, he was like a wolf in the darkness, filled with desire to battle, but also possessing an icy and clear mind. Xiao Moji's challenge had forced him into a situation of life and death. He only had one choice: to fight. He had never before been made to look like such a fool and forced into a reactive position. The initial fury had come mostly from this. Xiao Moji's move truly surpassed his expectation. But Yu Heng had experienced countless schemes and plans during his rise to be able to become the commander of a corps. There were many situations that had been more dangerous than this. Experienced, he quickly calmed down and found the possibility of survival that remained. This war chess match, he didn't just have to win, but had to win beautifully. Only by doing so could he preserve his glory in the public's eyes. Having realized this, he threw away all hesitation and started to prepare his mental state. From this, it was possible to see his experience and decisiveness. His reputation was not insubstantial. It was crucial for a battle general to have the ability to adjust their mentality and required to become a mature battle general. Yu Heng unhesitatingly walked into the wasteland beast chessboard. Yu Heng has come, Ji Heng said. His gaze did not move away for a moment. Ji Liu did not make a sound. Her gaze was tightly locked on the Yao channel's broadcast in front of her. This battle had caused a ruckus in every Yao Jia. All the Yao channels, regardless of their size, were only broadcasting this battle today. It was the same in every Yao Jia, every city. Tens of thousands of Yao in the air watching the broadcast. No one would miss this battle. Compared to Xiao Moji's previous battles, today's battle was on a completely different level. His opponent was a gold battle general, and the overscaled, high-difficulty war chess caused this battle to become hugely popular. The result of this battle would directly affect both the future of Heavy Earth Corps and the gold battle general Yu Heng. In the history of Yao, there had never been an event where the fate of a corps was entirely determined by the power of a single person. Other than attracting the public's attention, this event also attracted the gaze of the upper levels. It was not just the military high command. Even the Council of Elders had noticed it. Compared to this fight, the conflict against the Genius Alliance was like playing house. Yu Heng had been the commander of Heavy Earth Corps for 10 whole years, and had a great reputation. His reputation as a gold battle general was even longer than that. It had to be said that in all of the Yao Jia, there were 170,000 silver battle generals, but the number of gold battle generals did not surpass 800. Receiving the title of a gold battle general meant that they had squeezed into the ranks of the top battle generals. Ji Liu stared at the war chess field on the Yao channel. Even though the battle had not started, the entire landscape was empty. Xiao Moge and Yu Heng had both entered the field, and everyone became alert. The spectators could not see the two, but the entire chess field had lit up. This meant that both participants had arrived. The same thought flashed through every Yao's mind. It was starting. This battle also attracted the attention of many battle generals. Among battle generals, gold battle generals were undoubtedly experts. A gold battle general that received the position of corps commander was also an expert among experts. There were few chances to watch top experts directly fighting. Darren, who do you favor? A young battle general asked respectfully. Everyone surrounded a female, like the stars surrounded the moon. A full head of golden long hair cascaded off her shoulders like a waterfall, pure snowy white skin, and a face without an imperfection. She was extraordinarily beautiful, especially that pair of light blue eyes that were as vast as the sea and able to see through everything. No Yao in the surroundings dared to look straight at them. The Yao around her were also handsome or beautiful. She silently stood among them without a word, but no one could cover her light. She was Ming Yuyi, the bright moon in the night, the present leader of the Genius Alliance. Ming Yuyi smiled slightly and her lips parted. Who do you favor? The voice was airy, and the Yao that were close by had varying degrees of intoxicated expressions on their faces. A thread of adoration imperceptibly flashed across the young battle general's face. He quickly gathered his thoughts and said cautiously, "We do not know Xiao Moji's skill level. However, Corps Commander Yu Heng's style is experienced, and he is a hard bone to bite." At this time, a beautiful female Yao in the surroundings said prettily, "Even the hardest bone is nothing in front of a Nan." He Mei was one of Ming Yuye's closest confidants. She wasn't just beautiful and alluring, her conduct was extremely fiery and she was a rose with thorns. Sang Nan hurriedly said humbly, "Sister, he is joking. Compared to Commander Yu Heng, I'm very lacking. Who does a Nan think will win?" He Mei couldn't help but ask curiously. The Yao around were also curious about this question. Many of them looked at Sang Nan. The Genius Alliance was full of geniuses. Other than the geniuses that had limitless futures in cultivation and Yao arts, there were also many who were battle generals. The Genius Alliance had 16 gold battle generals, and Sang Nan was one of them. He was also the first seat battle general of the Genius Alliance. His strength had already attracted the attention of the Council of Elders, but such a skilled genius faithfully followed Ming Yuyi. If he did not follow Ming Yuyi, then it was very possible that he would have become the youngest corps commander of all of the Yao world. After thinking, Sang Nan said, "Both sides have a chance, especially since there are too many unknown factors. But I feel Yu Heng has a slight advantage. Yu Heng 6, Xiao Mo Gu 4. So A Nan favors Yu Heng." He Mei realized. Ming Yuyi was thoughtful. That pair of light blue eyes were as deep as the sea. Sang Nan still wanted to ask. At this time, the two sides started to pick their troops. In war chess, this step was crucial. The strategies that each person was skilled in were different, so their pick of troops would be completely different. The scale of war chess this time was very large, and there was a complete set of soldier types to pick from. Experienced battle generals were able to judge the style and tactics of others from the composition of the troops. He suddenly exclaimed lightly, Anan, what is it?" He Mei asked curiously. Sang Nan stared tightly at the Yao channel with a strange expression. As expected, this Xiao Mogu is an extremely arrogant person. "Why do you say so?" He Mei did not understand. Sang Nan had a serious expression, and his gaze did not leave the Yao channel. He explained, "What he picked is all offensive troops. No support troops. No defensive troops." There was something that Sang Nan did not say. Usually only beginners would choose such a combination. One gigantic oopsie on Feng Xiang's part. Is the name used here, but this is also the same person that has been mentioned before as. He probably forgot the order. I'm going with Ming Yuyi as this is the name used more frequently in the story, and the one that was used first. Night Bright Moon versus Bright Moon Night. Chapter 409. The flame-boring Yao, the soldier type that Gong Sun Cha had chosen, caused all Yao that had some knowledge of battle generals to be greatly astonished. Many battle generals shook their heads and said that Xiao Mogu was definitely not a professional. It had to be known that, no matter if it was in true combat or in war chess, the survival rate of an army of a single kind of soldier was very low. They could not deal with the complex and ever-changing battlefield. Compared to Gong Sun Cha, Yu Heng's choices caused the spectators' eyes to light up. 5/10 attacking soldier types, 2/10 defensive soldier types, 3/10 support soldier types. There were all kinds of Yao arts which caused there to be a wide variety of support soldier types. Many battle generals started to speculate Yu Heng's possible tactics based on the soldier type composition he had chosen. A few moments later, many battle generals shook their head on the inside and showed admiring expressions. Yu Heng's troop composition was not just very rational, but could form many kinds of tactics. The more they thought, the more there was to admire. The display of the two sides showed such a great difference in strength, causing many spectators that had anticipated a great battle to be greatly disappointed. Gong Sun Cha was almost dazzled by the variety of soldier types. It was the first time he had seen a great majority of soldier types in the list. The war chess that Pu Yao was familiar with was the war chess of 3,000 years ago. After 3,000 years of development, war chess had completely changed. Patiently flipping through the soldier type list, Gong Sun Cha couldn't help but frown. It was impossible to express the power of an unfamiliar soldier type. No battle general was willing to direct a troop that they were unfamiliar with, no matter how powerful they might be. However, he quickly threw away his stray thoughts. He did not think it was unfair. From when he had first touched the profession of a battle general in Little Mountain Jie, he had never had the luxury to make a troop according to his desired tactics. It was the opposite. He could only choose appropriate tactics based on the conditions of reality, such as a vermilion bird camp that was almost completely swordshio. In true battle, there were many places that would not be as desired. If battle generals could only fight when they were satisfied with the conditions, that was a joke. In his view, battle generals were the ones that would think of obtaining victory under any conditions. Other than victory, everything else was the enemy. His tangled hair brushed past Gong Sun Cha's calm yet crazy face. He narrowed his eyes and flipped through the soldier type list without any pause. Suddenly, a familiar soldier type entered his vision. Fire-boring Yao. When Pu Yao saw the soldier type listing that was also out of his expectations, his expression changed slightly. He had missed a crucial factor. He was an exceptional battle general. No, exceptional was not enough to describe him. Pu Yao's career as a battle general was dazzling. Other than the final battle in which all of his troops died, he was a top-notch battle general. He had only had one loss in his entire life. He had a great understanding of tactics. He knew very well that there was no all-purpose tactic in this world. Even the strongest tactic would become familiar after being studied for 3,000 years, and a way to defeat it would be found. The development of battle tactics would continuously advance. Old battle tactics would always be replaced with even better battle tactics. Pu Yao's expression was abnormally bad. The variety of soldier types in front of him was like a disdainful slap in the face. When he saw Gong Sun Cha expectedly choose the flame-boring Yao, his expression became grave. The battle had not begun, and Gong Sun Cha had landed in a definite disadvantage. Flame-boring Yao te. Many people were shaking their heads. There were those that were laughing, and those that were scornful. Flame-boring Yao was a very common soldier type. However, it was a type popular 3,000 years ago. Of all the Yao arts, fire Yao arts had always been a type of Yao art that had relatively greater power. Flame-boring Yao was a very obscure species among fire Yao. They were born from the lava of earth fire. They seemed to be born for fire Yao arts. Any fire Yao art would have unexpected power on their hands. Due to this, the attacking power of flame-boring Yao in war chess was very high. However, flame-boring Yao had weaknesses in other areas. Their intelligence was mostly low, and could only follow orders. Compared to their powerful offensive strength, their defenses could be described as fragile. This was directly connected with the fact that fire Yao arts were not suited for defense. This was also reflected in the settings of war chess. Due to this, they were greatly loved by novices and it was not hard to understand. Beginners always preferred those soldier types that were easy to control, and had great offensive power. For them, the exhilaration of charging was more pleasurable than winning. But for expecs, any weakness could be fatal, much less a weakness that everyone knew. Flame-boring Yao must be used in combination with other soldier types to protect the weak flame-boring Yao. Choosing an army completely composed of flame-boring Yao, wasn't that tantamount to suicide? If Yu Heng knew this, he probably would laugh into the sky, but right now he did not know the state of the opponent. He was extremely cautious as he did not want to lose his reputation. The board in front of him was much larger in scale than he had imaged, but this did not cause any problems to him. He was practiced as he skillfully set up his formations. With his many years of military service, his understanding of battle was even deeper than normal golden battle generals. This kind of profound understanding would show up in his adjustment. He almost did not need to think, and a string of orders were sent out in a stream. Sending out scouts, organizing the troops. Compared to Xiao Moge's terrible display, Yu Heng's display was pleasing to the eye and worthy of respect. When the scouts came back with the information that they had gathered, Yu Heng's troops had finished their organization. Looking down from a great height, his troops were like a crab. The thick middle group was the body of the crab. The nimbly moving two flanks were like two sharp claws. Completely composed of flame-boring Yao? He almost thought a problem had occurred with the scout. But when successive scouts came back with the same information, Yu Heng quickly calmed down. His first thought was that the other had soldier types skilled in illusory Yao arts. There were 28 types that could cast illusory Yao arts. He flipped through them mentally. He was considering which soldier type could be used together with flame-boring Yao. He quickly concluded 6 soldier types that were able to use illusory Yao arts and could work together with flame-boring Yao. Yu Heng quickly furrowed his brow. In opposition to everyone who did not believe that Xiao Moge had abilities as a battle general, Yu Heng was almost certain that Xiao Moge had extremely outstanding talent as a battle general. Before accepting the challenge, he had studied Xiao Moge's history. He had found that, although Xiao Moge was arrogant and rash, he would do as he said. He could always fulfill the seemingly absurd boasts he made. Due to this, while everyone was doubting Xiao Moge's skill, he was considering what Xiao Moge intended strategically to do such a thing. So he frowned because he did not understand. Usually, using illusory Yao arts were with the intention to feign battle tactics. But to disguise all of the troops as flame-boring Yao was not clever. Because any battle general with some experience could tell this was a disguise. So from this point, the intention to disguise had lost effect. Was Xiao Moge's skill just so? Yu Heng did not believe it. Deceptive battle tactics were based on both truth and lies, half-truth and half-lie. Successful deceptive tactics were used with the intention of misguiding the enemy. From this angle, according to normal reasoning, the most plausible was that Xiao Moge's flame-boring Yao were truly flame-boring Yao. All of them were truly flame-boring Yao? Yu Heng shook his head. Of all the guesses, this was the most unlikely. Any battle general familiar with war chess would not be unfamiliar with flame-boring Yao. Of the thousands of tactics that Yu Heng knew, there was none where the starting troops were all flame-boring Yao. This was decided by the flame-boring Yao's unique weakness. Xiao Moge was a beginner? He would be stupid to believe it. But what were Xiao Moge's intentions? Yu Heng suddenly found that while the two had not even come into contact, Xiao Moge had successfully made him unable to judge his actions. As strong as expected, normal battle generals might not be able to detect Yu Heng's hesitation, but strong battle generals such as Sang Nan instantly caught it. Yu Heng's hesitating, Sang Nan said lightly. He then smiled lightly. But if it was anyone else who encountered this, they probably would be jumping in fright too. Is this the stronger you are, the less brave you become? He may looked over. Yes. Sang Nan grimaced. No way around it. Xiao Moge's move is really too unexpected. At the same time, many battle generals gave knowing smiles, especially those that already were certain that Xiao Moge was a beginner. In their eyes, this scene was especially comedic. More and more people started to feel that Xiao Moge was a beginner, because up until now, Xiao Moge still hadn't finished organizing his troops. Yu Heng, on the other hand, had found an extremely good piece of land to set up his main base. He had also started to plant all kinds of Yao trees. As time increased, Yu Heng's advantage would become even more evident. Some people wanted to laugh at Yu Heng's caution, but everyone could understand. The importance of this battle to Yu Heng could not be doubted. And in such a crucial battle, maintaining wariness was the sign of maturity. Before discovering the other's intentions, maintaining one's development was an intelligent decision. Experienced and cautious, not giving the other even one weakness to attack, as expected of the commander of an entire corps. On the other hand, Xiao Mogu was still working to organize his troops. The mess of flame-boring Yao were in groups of 3 to 5, and increasingly showed Xiao Mogu's helplessness and clumsiness. The sound of discussion increased and scornful laughs increased. But in this loud and busy background, Sang Nan and the other golden battle generals lowered their voices. The disdain, underestimation, laughter in their eyes were like snow under sunlight that quickly disappeared. Their eyes slowly grew bright and sharp. They all looked at that troop that was being organized with difficulty. Chapter 410 Snowflake Flood. Zuomo asked Pu Yao curiously, "What is Gongsun Shidi doing?" "He is organizing his troops." A look flashed through Pu Yao's eyes. He suddenly laughed lightly. "Now there's something good to watch." Something good to watch. Zuomo did not understand. Pu Yao did not reply. His previous expression of gravity had disappeared, and a cold smile had formed at the corner of his mouth. In other people's eyes, Gong Sun Cha's organization of the troops seemed quite difficult, but Gong Sun Cha himself was immersed in the organization of his experiment. The attributes of the flame-boring Yao were very similar to the sword Xiao of Vermilion Bird Camp. They had strong offensive abilities and were weak defensively. However, Gong Sun Cha did not organize them like he did Vermilion Bird Camp. He was trying a new kind of organization. 6 flame-boring Yao to a team, 6 teams to a troop. It was the first time that Gong Sun Cha was organizing his troops this way. It wasn't going too smoothly in the beginning. Even the spectators were able to feel that he was slightly hesitant. But as the organization continued, the light in Gong Sun Cha's eyes grew clear. His movements became crisper, and the organization became smooth. A kind of presence called confidence slowly spread. This new organization of troops wasn't done on just an impulse. The problem of how he was to increase the combat capabilities of Vermilion Bird Camp was a problem that he had thought about for a long while. This completely new formation was one of the products of his efforts. The 3-section wave killing charge was unrivaled in its sharpness, but if they were bogged down in a battle of endurance, they would face the problem of not having any lasting power. Vermilion Bird Camp might have looked undefeatable in Little Mountain Jia, but Gong Sun Cha knew very well that in the whole world, Vermilion Bird Camp was far from being elite. Once they fought against even stronger enemies, and the first 3 attacks were ineffective, then Vermilion Bird Camp would be in danger. Recently, his skill as a battle general had increased greatly, and his vision was much broader than before. Possessing rich and new battle experience, he had thought of several novel battle tactics. If it was any other battle general, they would have not dared to randomly create tactics. In their eyes, creating new battle tactics was a very unreliable thing. They understood hundreds of battle tactics. These battle tactics, used hundreds of times in the past, were enough for them to deal with the great majority of situations. Never having undergone systematic education, Gong Sun Cha did not have their shackles. The number of battle tactics that he understood wasn't even as many as the silver battle generals of the Yao world. Pu Yao never taught him concrete battle tactics. He could only discover and experience them through the process of fighting against Pu Yao. All battle trends had to be concluded by himself. He only pursued victory. Only more rational and effective tactics could help him achieve victory. The messy troops slowly formed as if an invisible hand was shaping them into snowflakes, from ugliness into beauty. As the gazes started to become serious, the sounds of discussion decreased. Looking down from the sky, Gong Sun Cha's troops were like hundreds of snowflakes that fell upon the ground. But these snowflakes were deep red, because flame-boring Yao possessed deep red-colored hair. In the midst of the beautiful deep red snowflakes, killing intent rose. "So pretty." He couldn't help but say with bright eyes. "They aren't just pretty." Sang Nan's gaze had not moved a bit as he reflexively answered. Around him, many people also had similar expressions of seriousness. They all saw the killing intent contained in these beautiful snowflakes. Ming Yuyi did not speak. Her face was calm. But in her blue eyes that were like the vast sky, shock flashed imperceptibly. "He's moving." Hime's eyes became even brighter. "Whoa, so pretty to look at." No one spoke, but in their eyes astonishment flashed. It really was good to look at. The troops did not advance quickly. As they moved, the Yao spectators found the army was divided into 6 enormous circles. The 6 circles slowly spun as they moved forward. What was even more amazing was that the snowflakes in each circle was also slowly spinning. Thousands of deep red snowflakes moving in synchrony was really pleasing to see. But when it entered the eyes of Sang Nan and the others, their expressions changed. Even the battle generals that had been so disdainful unconsciously stood up straight. Their bodies reflexively became tense. Shock flew through their eyes and took over. Such a powerful consciousness. Pu Yao snickered with smugness. Xiuzhe, Yao, and Mo all have battle generals, but there are differences among the 3. The battle generals of Xiuzhe are most skilled in divination and prediction. The Great Development Calculating Method, and such all do this. Mo battle generals emphasize bravery and spirit. A powerful Mo battle general can gather the presences of the entire troop into one body. That really can destroy mountains. And Yao battle generals? Their most powerful skill is the consciousness. Consciousness. Mo did not understand. After he found the strange fact that Gongsun Shidi had talent as a battle general, he hadn't spent any more effort in that field. Battle generals with powerful consciousness can detect great details. All of the battlefield is in their mind. Even more, the consciousness is a network. He is able to send an order to every combat Yao. The entire army is like his body and can be directed at will. Mo finally understood. Gongsun Shidi is this strong. His talent is good. Pu Yao was slightly proud, and then he added, his luck isn't bad either. I just knew that Gongsun Shidi is the strongest. Mo was overjoyed. Thinking about being able to deal a fatal strike to that old codger, Yu Heng, he felt good inside. Don't you feel your blood heating and boiling? Pu Yao glanced at Mo boiling. I want to go up and fight. Mo's eyes were bright. Yes. What's the meaning in 2 people fighting? This kind of large-scale battle is true pleasure. Pu Yao seduced. How about it? Come learn to be a battle general. It is very fun. No. Mo shook his head like a rattledrum. Why? Pu Yao asked, unwilling to give up. Shidi can learn to be a battle general. Mo said righteously. Making Jingshi is the truest path. Can I make Jingshi by learning to be a battle general? Pu Yao was speechless. In the corner, Wei sat silently. Gong Sun Cha looked with satisfaction at his army that he had finished organizing. Different tactics required different organization of troops. However, he did not direct the troops to speed up, but maintain the slow speed. He had thought for a long time about this new battle tactic, but this was the first time he was using it. There naturally were many problems. Tripping and stumbling, Gong Sun Cha was not in a rush. He slowly experimented. He didn't seem to realize this was an important battle. If it was said that people thought lightly of him before, then right now, any battle general with some knowledge was staring fixedly at the snowflake-shaped troops, looking on as this strange troop went from the rawness of the start to smoothness. This Xiao Mo's consciousness is really strong. Sang Nan was full of admiration. Able to control this mini-battle Yao so precisely. Powerful. What's the use of a strong consciousness? Just trying to appear pretty. Who uses this kind of formation shape? Another battle general couldn't help say. His expression was not good. Someone else instantly agreed. Right, does he think this is a performance? It's acceptable if it is beautiful? Making a snowflake shape. Never heard of this before. Even if he wants to be novel, he shouldn't do it this way. He's a famous person. With such a good chance, of course he needs to perform. If he doesn't make it pretty, how can he fool the amateurs? Another battle general said scornfully. Many battle generals shook their heads. They all had great discontent on their faces. In their view, Xiao Mogu was purposefully acting this way. Was he using this pretty performance to fool those citizens that did not understand the profession? Was this something a battle general should even consider doing? Sang Nan did not make a sound and grimaced inside. He could understand the thoughts of his fellows. In the eyes of many battle generals, battle was a stern and sacred matter. If Xiao Mogu did not understand how to be a battle general, then they would just smile and let it go. But right now, the powerful consciousness and precise control that Xiao Emoge displayed showed that he was a true battle general. A battle general that treated battle like it was a child's game, and only wanted to satisfy the audience. Such a figure instantly provoked hatred from them. As the match started, almost all the battle generals were on Yu Heng's side. They hoped sincerely that Corps Commander Yu Heng would give this clown a stern lesson. Some battle generals gave Xiao Emoge the title of the embarrassment of battle generals. Listening to the scorn of his fellows, Sang Nan shook his head inside. He did not feel that Xiao Emoge had created this strange snowflake formation to purposefully be shocking, even though he did not understand why Xiao Emoge had formed it in the first place. There was a feeling of danger that hung over his mind. He looked at Ming Yuyi Darren. Ming Yuyi was focused on the strange army. Sang Nan's mind moved. Darren, do you feel? Ming Yuyi did not move her gaze. She raised her hand. Look. Following Darren's finger, he hurriedly turned his face. He saw Xiao Emoge's troops suddenly accelerate. They were like an avalanche, one that was composed of many spinning snowflakes. The scornful conversation of his fellows suddenly stopped. Sang Nan perceived their silence. His attention was locked onto the rapidly advancing troop. For some reason, the feeling of danger he had felt earlier increased. He wasn't the only one that felt the danger. In the rolling avalanche, every snowflake was furiously spinning like deep red snowflake-shaped blades, densely packed together and moving in layers. Sharp killing intent was displayed without any pretense. In front of this rapidly spinning wave of blades, almost everyone had unconsciously stopped breathing. Low against the ground, the deep red, sharp snowflake flood drifted forward at astounding speeds. Just the presence of the troops was enough to stun everyone. Wait! Sang Nan, who was staring hard at the deep red flood of blades, suddenly felt his eyelid jump. He suddenly raised his head, and he had an expression of disbelief. The direction of this flood was pointing directly at Yu Heng's main base. Chapter 411. Juxtaposition. How had he found the position of Yu Heng's main base? It wasn't just Sang Nan that was surprised. Many battle generals quickly detected this. Every person who did notice couldn't help but show a startled look. Xiao Emoge's soldiers were all flame-boring Yao, a soldier type that functioned poorly as a scout. But beyond this, Xiao Emoge hadn't performed any scouting, but had found the other's location. This guy, a battle general said emotionally, has great luck. The other battle generals nodded, randomly marching in a direction, and it was the correct direction. His luck was astoundingly good. Listening to the discussion around him, Sang Nan did not speak. He was uncertain inside. He could not tell if Xiao Emoge really was just lucky. To not need scouts and still be able to grasp the geography of the board, it only required that your consciousness was strong enough. But this kind of perception was not limitless. The bigger the battlefield, the larger the consciousness had to be to accomplish this. In large-scale battles, the information obtained by a battle general's consciousness was like a drop in the ocean. A large number of scouts were needed to get a sufficient amount of information. For any battle general, information on the battlefield was what they based their commands on. Sang Nan had never seen a battle general that did not need to send out any scouts. And the strangest thing was that the other actually determined the correct direction. At this moment, even he believed that this person had great luck. But why did he still have a foreboding sense of danger? Gong Sun Cha's consciousness was spread out like a net. Everything within 50 li was within his grasp. He quickly found the remaining traces of presence in the air. This was a presence he was unfamiliar with, and different than any combat Yao he had encountered before. It should be a soldier type he had not seen before. He narrowed his eyes. Amongst the burning desire for battle, the light of calm flashed. His consciousness silently rippled. Without pausing, the snowflake avalanche made a smooth and sharp turn, advancing in a wave like spilled mercury. They silently and rapidly advanced. A seemingly simple maneuver caused a wave of exclamations. Even Pu Yao's eyes flashed with a threat of shock. Directing troops to turn at high speed was a basic skill of a battle general. The more people there were, the harder it was. The faster the maneuver was, the harder it was. This was a move that every battle general could do, and one of the moves that strained and tested the fundamental skills of a battle general. Silver battle generals needed to easily control about 1,000 combat Yao to complete a turn at high speed. 5,000 was the requirement of a golden battle general. Was this guy already at the skill level of a golden battle general? Gongsun Shidi's consciousness is really nimble. Zuemo couldn't help but praise. Even though he did not understand the intricacies of being a battle general, he could see the wonders of it with a glance. To give orders to 5,000 people at once didn't just require a strong consciousness, it required a sensitive one. There was no wonder why Zuemo was shocked. Fine manipulations like this were something he had been the most skilled at. No matter if it was Ling power or consciousness, he could not be considered strong, but he was always abnormally sensitive. Is it the Fiend Soul Beast beads? Pu Yao said to himself. The consciousness control that Gongsun Cha displayed far surpassed his skill in the last match. He had progressed this quickly in such a short amount of time? The first thing that Pu Yao thought of was the Fiend Soul Beast beasts because he knew that Gongsun Cha had been furiously consuming Fiend Soul Beast beads in this past while. Could Fiend Soul Beast beads cause the consciousness to become more sensitive? Pu Yao's guess was not incorrect. Gongsun Cha's consciousness had changed due to these Fiend Soul Beast beads. Gongsun Cha's talent in cultivation was very average, and greatly limited his development as a battle general. He had spent great thought to create his own battle general core scripture, but being of average talent, the rate of improvement could not satisfy him. Lil started his crazy cultivation plan when he had joyfully discovered that processing Fiend Soul Beast beads were of benefit to his consciousness. He spent almost all of his time on processing the Fiend Soul Beast beads, and around this time, the hunting missions had also begun. A continuous hunting made so he did not need to worry about the supply of Fiend Soul Beast beads. When it came to a problem regarding being a battle general, the shy and bashful Lil would accidentally display his insanity. This time was not an exception. Before he even understood the Fiend Soul Beast beads, he had unhesitatingly gambled with himself. Because he knew that if he wanted to progress, he had to solve the problem of his weak consciousness. He desired victory. For victory, he was willing to take greater risks. He had gambled correctly. His consciousness had grown 3 times and was now much more sensitive than before. Fiend Soul Beast beads? Zuemo also showed a thoughtful expression. He suddenly thought about the golden souls he possessed. He had been busy this while. Other than the ones used by Gongsun Shidi, Pu Yao and Wei, he had not used the other golden souls. He had really been too busy and forgotten such an important thing. Zuemo couldn't help but mock himself. On the board, Gongsun Cha's speed was extremely fast. Following the minuscule remnants of presence, the enormous flame-boring Yao army was like a red flow of snow that snaked its way towards the opponent's base. It wasn't luck. Sangnan's heart beat wildly. The other battle generals also saw the strangeness. That's weird. This boy can't be lucky with every decision. How can he be right every time? Yes. So strange. Does this guy have a dog's nose? Even a dog can't do this. The sounds of discussions rose. Hime's face was puzzled. She wasn't a battle general, and she was confused listening to the discussion. She asked Sangnan curiously, "What are they speaking about?" Sangnan patiently explained, "They are speaking about how Xiao Mogu knew the position of Yu Heng's main base without using scouts." Right. Hime realized. No wonder I felt something was weird. I didn't see Xiao Mogu's scouts. She then asked confusedly, how can Xiao Mogu know the position of Yu Heng's main camp without using scouts? Sangnan said in a quiet voice, "Flame-boring Yao are not suited to being scouts. Their speed isn't slow, but it isn't fast. Even more important is that they cannot conceal themselves. Xiao Mogu probably has a secret technique that can find the presence that the other scouts have left behind." The surrounding conversation stopped. Everyone listened keenly. Sangnan was greatly talented, and had once received the title of Best Young Battle General 3 years in a row. The amount of trophies and titles he had won was incomparable to most of his peers. Of the young generation of battle generals, he would definitely rank in the top 5. Many of the elders in the military thought highly of him. He had unexpectedly become Ming Yuye's follower, and had given up the chance to become a commander of a corps, which had caused his reputation to fall greatly. These past few years he had rarely appeared in public, but stayed low-key by Ming Yuye's side. But no one would doubt the title of the first battle general of the Genius Alliance. Look closely. The advancing path of Xiao Emogu is the route one of Yu Heng's scouts had just taken while retreating. Everyone finally showed expressions of realization. No wonder he could make such accurate decisions. Xiao Emogu had such a powerful secret technique. At this time, this red snowflake flood encountered some of Yu Heng's scouts. Yu Heng had found Xiao Emogu's position long ago. In order to obtain more information, he had sent more scouts in this direction. When these scouts saw the troops, they couldn't help but be shocked and then instantly started to retreat. Some scouts attempted to plant messenger trees and pass the news back to the camp. But Gong Suncha would not give them the chance. With a wave of his hand, his troops instantly overwhelmed their scouts. These scouts did not have the time to send back their reports before they died. Seeing this, the other scouts ran even quicker. Gong Suncha did not hesitate. He directed his troops to closely follow behind these scouts. He maintained an appropriate distance and did not give them the chance to plant messenger trees. In the Yao world, information was sent mostly using messenger trees. Scouts would carry the seeds of messenger trees on them. They only needed to plant the seeds, and the messenger tree would sprout and grow in a very brief period of time to fruit and produce seed. The fruit of the messenger tree would shatter into a multicolored mist that would turn the information into pictures and sound to transport it back. It was possible to exchange information using the seeds of one messenger tree. It was very convenient, but there was a flaw. It required time. It took about 15 minutes for the seed to grow and bear fruit. Normally, 15 minutes wasn't anything, but in times of urgency and danger, this 15 minutes became a fatal flaw. The scouts right now lacked the required 15 minutes. Gong Suncha's troops suddenly divided up. The troops that had been like a flood suddenly divided into 6 large snowflakes. Each large snowflake was made from about 800 flame-boring yao. They were like 6 high-speed blades. The troops on the right and left wings began flanking the enemy, forming an arc that tightly followed the scouts and forced them together. One group running and one group chasing. After 1 hour of this chase, Gong Suncha's troops reached the outskirts of Yu Heng's main base. All the Yao gaped at this scene. What strategy was this? In war chess that was larger in scale, the struggle between the two sides would usually take 40 to 60 hours, or even longer. The vast geography was enough space allowed for deeper strategies and to outflank each other. The two sides usually needed to experience multiple rounds of spying, probing, skirmishes, and to pressure and squeeze each other's territory before the final battle. For this war chess match that was of a much grander scale, many battle generals had prepared to watch for 3 days and nights. But Xiao Emogu that never acted within the expected norms, and this time was not an exception. He didn't construct a base, didn't plant yao trees upon starting. He took all his troops and charged straight at the other's main camp. What strategy was this? Such a hooligan. A battle general unconsciously murmured, but this caused all the battle generals that felt suffocated to suddenly breathe properly. Right. Hooligan. This was a hooligan. Only those hooligans that did not care about technique and fought on the street would be like this, taking all their people and charging straight at the front gates. Sangnan felt he had swallowed a fly. His entire body felt uncomfortable. Xiao Emogu's snowflake-shaped formation moved like it was a bolt of lightning that tore the clouds apart, and this stunned him. The secret technique he used was also unfathomable. All the signs lead him to be filled with anticipation about the following battle. But that kind of anticipation definitely was not for this unreasonable charge on the front gates. Right, it was unreasonable. He seemed to be watching a skilled sword warrior who, after a string of dazzling sword moves, suddenly threw away his treasured sword, and take up the pig-butchering cleaver and howling as he savagely charged. Where was the strategy? Tactics? Technique? The strong juxtaposition was so uncomfortable Sangnan almost spat blood. At this time, Gong Suncha did not pause and directly started his attack. In Sangnan's eyes, the beauty of the snowflakes and everything else disappeared. He seemed to see a snarling butcher smile as he hacked, with the pig butchering cleaver, at the other's head like he was killing a pig. Chapter 412. Collide. Unlike Sangnan and the others who wanted to spit blood, Zuomo's eyes lit up as he watched. His blood was boiling. He wanted to charge straight at the other's main base with them. How exhilarating it would be! It would be so pleasurable. Those dazzling tactics were nice to look at, but this kind of straightforward charge suited Zuomo's temper. Gongsun Cha did not think so much. These strange actions and choices in other people's eyes were actually made out of his helplessness. He didn't understand anything about strategic things like Yao trees. If it was any other person, they definitely would not accept this unfair match. But Gongsun Cha never thought about fairness. When had battle ever been fair? The seemingly crazy Gongsun Cha was icy cold inside. He knew the longer the battle took, the more disadvantageous it was for him. So when he had finished organizing his troops, he charged towards the other's camp without a moment's pause. Right now was the moment the difference between the two forces was the smallest. As time went on, the gap in strength between the two forces would grow. He also knew that against the mysterious person, charging like this definitely wouldn't end well. But with no other choice, he could only harden himself and charge. Gongsun Cha had almost frightened Yu Heng. He actually didn't manage to react. What strategy was this? His face was bewildered. Having served many years in the military, Yu Heng was skilled in all kinds of tactics and had fought against many experts. Naturally, he had fought against those who were unconventional. But even those abnormally acting experts had just used unconventional gambits. It was possible to determine the intentions behind their maneuvers. War chess had developed over so many years, and the large amounts of tactics had all been studied. Which opening moves to use in a match was an issue that had been studied the most. There were all kinds of strategies. Many of them were popular for a time, but as time went on and these strategies were fully studied, their weaknesses were exposed, each became less useful. Then they were gradually replaced by new strategies. Yu Heng's opening method was a variation on the classic three-division opening method. It put a third of his forces into development, one-third into defense, and one-third to act as needed. The three-division setup was equalized, had outstanding defense, and great developmental potential over time. It was a very popular and classic opening method. Yu Heng's three divisions had a few changes focused on the combinations of soldier types, combinations that had made people's eyes light up in awe. The troops he used to defend and those he reserved to act freely could freely interact and support each other. This unique adjustment caused the U-Style's three-division opening method to become even stronger. All the spectators changed expressions upon seeing this, and it was possible to see how skilled Yu Heng was. But Yu Heng, who was skilled in all kinds of strategies, never thought the other would charge straight to his door like a brute. Was he suicidal? Pausing, Yu Heng instantly reacted. The offensive power of the three-division opening method was not extremely strong, but the defensive power was not weak. So Yu Heng felt disbelief, but he did not panic. His main base had been finished, and the defensive capabilities had been increased. Even if the other's entire army came to attack, he had enough confidence that he could hold against the other. However, he still was cautious. Using just the power the other had, it was an impossible mission to attack a completed main camp. Yu Heng believed that Xiao Moge also understood this. Even more, he kept on feeling that Xiao Moge's purely flame-boring Yao army was a scheme. Xiao Moge definitely had something else planned, and that would be the true killing move. He believed his judgment. He did not believe that Xiao Moge had only picked flame-boring Yao. Yu Heng was careful as he directed the troops to advance, as he prepared to counter against any move that would appear. On the other side, Gongsun Cha's mind was unprecedentedly focused. Other people only saw him pursuing Yu Heng's scouts. They did not know that inside the seemingly smooth flow of troops, Gongsun Cha was continuously familiarizing himself with this new troop formation. Every bit of familiarity he gained could add a small chance of success. Fortunately, he had pondered the snowflake formation for a long time, and was not completely unfamiliar with it. As he raced all this way, It became easier to move everything according to his will. This pursuit was like warm-up. When he reached Yu Heng's main base, just having finished his warm-up, Gong Sun Cha's presence and attention was at its peak. The snowflake flood that just reached the outskirts of the main base suddenly accelerated. They were like a bundle of saw blades that suddenly tore at the main base. At the same time, Gong Sun Cha's eyes suddenly lit up. His spread-out consciousness shook. This vibration seemed to create ripples and rapidly transferred to every corner of the consciousness web. Whoosh! The red snowflake center suddenly lit up and gave off a blinding red light. The red light spread at astounding speed. It seemed to be like flowing metal liquid that flowed along the pathways of the snowflake originating from its center, and quickly reached the tip of each snowflake branch. When more than 800 flame-boring Yao cast fire Yao arts at the same time, the heat produced twisted the air. This caused the shape of the snowflake to look somewhat warped. What was even more stunning was that each flame-boring Yao was situated among the high-speed spinning snowflake. Each was like a burning hot blade that was furiously humming. Everyone was shocked at the presence given off by the flame-boring Yao. Everyone had used flame-boring Yao before, but they had never seen such an intimidating presence. Yu Heng's expression changed dramatically as his troops were struck. The presence suddenly exuded by the enemy surpassed his imagination. Why was it like this? He had always assumed that the enemy's first wave of attack was definitely a feint. The true threat to him was the ambush that was to come later, so he had only sent a small portion of his army to face the enemy. The majority of his troops were waiting for the hidden enemy. The suddenly fierce attack was like a storm that came without warning. 6 large snowflakes with burning and sharp howls furiously charged his base. The moment the two sides collided, countless blinding lights shot up. Like 6 burning red saws, in the midst of ear-piercing shrieking, sparks shot out like a rain. The sky seemed to be illuminated by the rising fire Yao arts. Not good. Yu Heng's heart skipped a beat. His body wavered. In his wide pupils, a thread of disbelief flashed. The other really was using only flame-boring Yao. The other truly was attacking with all of his forces. All of his predictions, all of the judgments, they were all wrong. 2 successive basic assumptions had been incorrect. From any angle, these were likely fatal. In order to reserve more to face the later attacks of the enemy, he had preserved the majority of his power. This meant that the number of combat Yao on the front lines that were facing the flame-boring Yao was too few. The difference in power was too large. Famed for its attacking power, the flame-boring Yao pressed their advantage to their limit. The 6 troops were like 6 snowflake-shaped heated saws that penetrated his troops like butter, cutting through them without any effort. Forced to the precipice, Yu Heng displayed his outstanding tactical training. Facing this situation with his troops on the verge of collapse, he rapidly calmed down. Even though he had not expected that the other would use all his power on the first wave of attack, but he also did not hesitate to engage with all of his forces. His expression resumed normality as he quickly adjusted the troops. The troops under his command seemed to explode. They turned to several hundred little troops that quickly spread out into every corner of the base. Relying on the defensive capabilities of the base, these little teams were very nimble. Like packs of wolves, they continuously harassed the enemy troops. The situation quickly stabilized. The snowflake formation that encountered resistance had slowed down its advance. Powerful. Sangnan couldn't help but clap in praise. Xiao Moge's intimidating attack had almost got him to stop breathing. Yu Heng's following reaction was based on the principle of using to softness to subdue hardness. To be able to stabilize the situation in such a chaotic state, Yu Heng really lived up to his reputation. This collision was short, but extremely fierce. After the short exchange, Yu Heng only had 2,600 combat Yao remaining. His losses could be called immense. Xiao Moge had 4,000 combat Yao left. He seemed to have the advantage of numbers, but their speed had been halted by Yu Heng. Adding on that they were deep in enemy territory, they now had to face the defensive weapons of the enemy camp. Flame-boring Yao were very weak defensively, and it was undoubtedly very dangerous to be caught in such a situation. Looking at it that way, the two sides had once again reached a certain equilibrium. All the battle generals were staring unblinkingly. Such a fierce collision usually only happened in the final stages of a match. Many of them even forgot to breathe. None of them had expected that seemingly pretty but useless snowflake formation would be so sharp. All of the battle generals were stunned. No one doubted Xiao Emoji's battle general skills any longer. Such an extreme breakthrough, if it appeared on the battlefield, was the nightmare of the enemy. However, battle generals with some skill could see the danger that Xiao Emogu was now facing. Yu Heng had relied on his experience as a commander to transform his main base into a quagmire. Even the sharpest saw was bogged down while facing this swamp. What would Xiao Emogu do? This question appeared in the observers' minds at the same time. But no one knew that Gong Sun Cha, who appeared to be in a dangerous situation, did not feel he was in danger. Once the two sides had engaged, Gong Sun Cha perceptively realized that his opponent was not the mystery expert he usually faced. The two styles were too far apart. Most importantly, Gong Sun Cha could not feel the overbearing pressure that was usually present, did not feel like there was a rope constantly strangling his neck, being used to Pu Yao's suffocating pressure. Gong Sun Cha felt he was a fish in the water when he faced Yu Heng, and was able to breathe freely. Everyone thought that Yu Heng had stabilized the situation, and Xiao Emogu had landed in danger. What they did not understand was that for a battle general like Gong Sun Cha that struggled constantly under Pu Yao's abuse, what would it mean when there wasn't enough pressure put on him? It meant that Gong Sun Cha's hands were unbound. Having such freedom, how terrifying could Gong Sun Cha be? Before today no one knew. Lacking this pressure, Gong Sun Cha felt it was very unfamiliar. This unfamiliar feeling deeply stimulated Gong Sun Cha. His eyes became brighter. As his messy hair brushed across his face, a light bashful smile came to the corner of his mouth. An imperceptible vibration passed to every flame-boring Yao along the invisible consciousness web. The strangulation had started. Chapter 413. Snowflake Strangulation Kill. Snowflake Strangulation Kill. This was the name Gong Sun Cha gave to this new battle tactic. Today was the first day he showed off its edges. Just as everyone was sighing over the powerful charge it had made, none of them knew that the reason Lil Miss had created the Snowflake Strangulation Kill was to compensate for the fact that the 3-section wave killing charge lacked lasting power. In other words, the charges and defensive line breakthroughs that everyone exclaimed over was not the best attribute of this battle tactic. Its best quality was strangulation kill. The 6 large snowflakes suddenly crumbled and turned to many smaller snowflakes. They did not move in a defined formation anymore. These tiny snowflakes were like a flood that streamed into every pore and crack. Their rate of advance was not quick, but gave people the feeling their advance was unavoidable. The small snowflakes composed of 6 flame-boring Yao furiously spun. Fire Yao arts were prepared on their hands. Once they encountered an enemy, they would attack. Their attacking method was very unique. As they spun quickly, the 6 flame-boring Yao would move, and while rotating positions to release the fire Yao art in their hands, it became a ruler straight stream of fire. This was a stream of fire composed of fire Yao arts. When the last flame-boring Yao finished releasing the fire Yao art, the first flame-boring Yao had finished casting a new fire Yao art. It was the continuous cycle of fire Yao arts. The stream of fire was endless. In front of this endless line of fire, the defensive Yao arts of the defensive troops were fragile as paper. They were not even able to delay the advance long enough to buy time for their comrades before dying. The combat soldier types that lacked protection died even quicker. Even more frightening was that each small snowflake would not fight by themselves. They would always have 2 to 3 little teams beside them. The middle team of the trio would fall back and form a reverse triangle. They would half surround the enemy and engulf them in their web of fire. The fire web made from the fire streams of the 3 teams increased their killing power. If 6 or 7 fire snowflakes fire streams shot out together, the fire web that formed robbed the enemy of all hope. The advancement of the flame-boring Yao was not fast. They were moving slowly like molten lava. Everywhere they passed, everything turned to ash, and nothing was able to stop them. The fire streams crisscrossed like an enormous web. The enemies within the large web furiously casted Yao arts, but they were like insects caught on the spider's web. Any struggling was useless. Yu Heng's face was pale. The crisscrossing fire streams were like threads of death in his eyes. The number of troops under his command decreased at an astounding speed. He could see that the flame-boring Yao were also continuously falling to his defense as well, but Yu Heng's mouth was filled with bitterness. The rate that the others' numbers were lessening was far slower than his. Basically, 3 of his combat Yao would be traded for one of the others' combat Yao. He almost couldn't believe it. How was this the fragile flame-boring Yao? The other's consciousness was truly too strong. The speed that the flame-boring Yao at the very front perished was very fast, but when one in front perished, another flame-boring Yao from behind quickly took its place. The other's entire army was flowing smoothly like liquid. Other than that, every small snowflake still maintained its high-speed spinning. At the beginning, there had been 5,000 combat Yao, and more than 800 small snowflakes. Even with the losses, they maintained the completeness of their troop formation. This meant that their abilities were only marginally reduced, and lead to the staggeringly one-sided ratio of damage each force was taking. But how strong of a consciousness was needed to do this? Yu Heng's face was ashen, his eyes began to dim. He knew he had been defeated, handily defeated. As the number of combat Yao under his command had lessened, the effectiveness of the base's defensive weapons had decreased. The others' flame-boring Yao were even able to pluck them out one structure at a time. He accepted his defeat. Even though Xiao Moge's move was completely different than what was in style now, but the person who could create such a battle tactic was undoubtedly a tactical genius. He understood that his 2 incorrect judgments had caused him to land in a defensive position. But what truly caused him to lose was this new battle tactic, was the other's powerful and un-Yao-like consciousness. Even if he was prepared to meet this burst of red snowflakes, he did not know how to defeat it. Yu Heng liked playing politics, but he had received a traditional battle general's education. His pride as a battle general was etched deeply into his bones. At this moment, he did not think about the result of losing his reputation. His heart was filled with the frustration of defeat, and his heart was truly akin to being dead. Because this was a defeat where there was no excuse. Yu Heng is finished. Sang Nan sighed lightly, and his tone was slightly sorrowful. Personally, seeing the fall of a golden battle general, faint sorrow came into his mind. His intuition was far more sensitive than the average battle general. Without seeing Yu Heng's face, he was still able to capture Yu Heng's loss of spirit and dead presence from some near imperceptible details on the battlefield. Each golden battle general had experienced countless tests, fights, and struggles. Maybe they had different backgrounds and skill levels, but each of them were truly the best. Once the heart of a battle general was dead, that meant they had fallen. Feeling that Yu Heng was probably dead at heart, sighs sounded out in many places, not just from Sang Nan. Many of them had anticipated this battle, but no one had expected this battle would directly cause the fall of a golden battle general. For the great majority of people, this spectacular and dramatic battle satisfied their desires. The cause of this battle had long been forgotten. What people discussed the most was, of course, Xiao Moge. In their view, Xiao Moge had to be a gold battle general to have defeated Yu Heng. The prison-breaking battle and killing 26 Yao had given him the title of genius. Now they found this guy was actually a gold battle general. Xiao Moge who stepped on the corpse of another battle general. This gold battle general was very substantial. It was no wonder that many Yao exclaimed, "Was this guy still Yao? Such a freak of a Yao. How many years would it take for one to appear? Freak. Too freaky." If everyone's discussion was limited to low-level Yao, then he was a hot topic. His name truly spread to every corner of the Yao world. In wartime, everyone knew very well what a gold battle general meant. Even more, he was also so young. Adding on that his own strength was very outstanding, he had great potential, and even the possibility of achieving the position of a Sky Yao. Such a youth. Could you demand him to be even more freakishly talented? Even the Genius Alliance that was said to have countless geniuses only had a handful of comparable geniuses. But the discussion of this battle had just begun. The amateurs watched the spectacle, the insiders discussed the technique. In the eyes of the battle generals, this battle had risen to the level of a classic. Xiao Moge's use of the flame-boring Yao broke the norm. Before this, no one had ever thought that flame-boring Yao could be used like this. The meaning of this battle was not just on the flame-boring Yao. To these combat Yao, Xiao Emoji's creativity had opened a new window for them. The power of an unrelenting attack had attracted the attention of all battle generals. How to maintain the firepower of a troop became the hot topic of study for battle generals. When the battle generals came back to Studley, they found that the requirements of the consciousness in order to complete Xiao Emoji's snowflake tactic were very high. They suddenly realized just how terrifying Xiao Emoji's consciousness was. As the battle generals were studying, and the normal people were discussing interestedly, a piece of news struck like lightning. Yu Heng, whose heart had collapsed, had handed in his resignation and quit as the commander of the Heavy Earth Corps. Many of Yu Heng's good friends came to visit in hopes of comforting him. But when they saw Yu Heng, all of them paled. Yu Heng had shut himself into a small room, his expression dazed, and he did not react to anyone that spoke to him. Yu Heng was finished. The Jade family was finished. This news added a thick sense of tragedy to this battle. But soon no one paid attention to Yu Heng's news. Everyone's eyes would forever be on the victor. But Xiao Emoge seemed to have disappeared. This battle made Zhuo Emo marvel, but more importantly, it allowed him to feel satisfaction. But only just that. It was just a war chess match. What was there to be excited about? Lil Miss was completely unaffected. Because he knew the opponent was not the usual mysterious person. Even though he had won, he didn't feel any joy. It would probably take defeating Pu Yao to make him feel true joy. This battle had also caused him to think more on his newly created snowflake tactic. Once the battle ended, he burrowed into the camp, all his thoughts on the new tactic. As to Pu Yao and Wei, this small victory held no value in their eyes. The victory that caused great waves in the Yao world didn't create a single ripple on Zhuomo's side. This matter was perfectly resolved, and Zhuo could finally put his complete attention on how to leave this ghastly place. From the information he got from Ming Juzi, they needed to find the center of the battlefield. If they found the center, they could be able to find the damaged Jie River. That way, they could be able to leave the ancient battlefield. So Zhuo instantly sent out the mobilization order. The entire group departed for the deepest part of the fiendish mist. Everyone's morale rose. They had set up camp at this place for a long time. They had put the majority of their attention on their cultivation. But they couldn't help but feel desperate inside. They were like hungry beasts that had been trapped for a long time, and all of them howled. So when the order came down, everyone became excited. They had become increasingly familiar with the surrounding environment after hunting fiend soul beasts in the recent while. The feeling of terror that they had when they first entered this ancient battlefield had disappeared long ago. These people that were daring to start with were eager and wanted to charge at the very front. But Zhuo and the others that knew all of the information were not so optimistic. In an ancient battlefield that was tens of thousands years old, were the vicious beasts it created only at this skill level. Chapter 414. Fiend Corpse reality proved that the worries Zhuo and the others had were well-founded. The first 2 days of the journey went smoothly, but they encountered trouble on the third day. The vicious being they encountered had a human-shaped figure. It looked like a zombie. It had a human-shaped primate facing them, had a vicious pair of eyes that glimmered with red light. Its entire body, including its face, was covered in fur. What was strangest was that the color of its fur was not uniform. Instead, the multicolored fur created a complex and exquisite pattern that was like an unknown formation. There was a skull hanging from its waist. It seemed to be made of jade or porcelain. There seemed to be a ball of black mist that floated at the empty eye sockets. Careful, this is a fiend corpse. From the tone of Pu Yao's warning, Zhuo instantly understood this thing called a fiend corpse was posed an extraordinary danger. He had just watched as at least 3 flying swords chopped at the fiend corpse's body. Other than causing a few sparks, the attacks didn't leave behind any mark, and the rebound had almost caused the attackers harm instead. Everyone, including Zhuo, leapt forward. Wei Sheng, Xieshan, and the others hurried forward to help. The fiend corpse instantly retreated as his initial attack had not succeeded. Its right hand was pressed against the skull on its waist. Its eyes flashed with red light, and its gaze was tightly locked onto Wei Sheng. It seemed to understand that Wei Sheng was the greatest threat to it. When its gaze landed on the broken sword in Wei Sheng's hands, the red light grew, and the fiendish mist roiled. The fiend corpse's presence shocked Zhuo Mo. He hurriedly asked Pu Yao, "What is a fiend corpse?" Corpses left in areas of dense fiendish energy do not easily rot. The fiendish energy enters the corpse and forms a fiend corpse. You have to be careful, this fiendish corpse isn't simple. Pu Yao's tone was grave. Along the way here, there were no traces of corpses. Over time even the bones had turned to dust. The formation of black fiendish energy takes time, at least hundreds of years. Meaning corpse was able to stay preserved for hundreds of years. Either it has the help of a treasure, or the corpse itself is strange. Treasure? Zhuo Mo's gaze floated instantly to the skull on the fiend corpse's waist. Was this skull a treasure? When he looked at the fur on the fiend corpse's body that was like a formation, he felt Pu Yao's other speculation was also possible. Facing the fiend corpse, Wei Sheng's expression was serious. The pressure he sensed from the fiend corpse was beyond anything he had previously experienced. Ever since he had stepped into the stage of Jindan, his power had multiplied. This increase wasn't just in cultivation. It included growth in sword essence and his mentality. He had to spend large amounts of time to stabilize his cultivation. This increase in power had caused the fiend soul beasts to become less pressuring to him. But the fiend corpse in front of him, Wei Sheng could not feel even a threat of its presence. If he wasn't staring at it with his eyes, it would seem there was nothing where the fiend corpse was standing. This shocked him. The only thing that he knew that could do this were 5th-grade ling beasts. 5th-grade ling beasts could form void covers and hide their presences. This fiend corpse wasn't a ling beast, not even a Yao beast, but definitely was above 5th grade. Vicious beings above 5th grade could only be faced by Xiuzha in Jindan or above. Zhuo Mo had killed a bloody-horned great serpent before, but that one had been forced to form. It only just touched the boundary of 5th grade. The fiend corpse in front of them was definitely not a normal 5th grade vicious being. It could possibly be 6th grade. In the world, other than Xiuzha, Yao, and Mo, there were all kinds of beings. For these living beings, grades were used to categorize their power. The space shield of 5th grade, the space boundary of 6th grade, the space source of 7th grade, and the scape spirit of 8th grade. The 9th and 10th grades were existences that almost were undefeatable and immortal. Each grade had upper, intermediate, and lower divisions. With 5th grade as an example, the lower level could just form the space shield. The space shield that formed was also very unstable. Intermediate 5th grade had a basic and complete space shield, and started to form new transformations. When it came to upper 5th grade, the space shield was almost perfect, and many transformation could be comprehended. Intermediate 5th grade. Yizheng exclaimed. His face instantly became pale white. Being from a great sect, Yizheng's knowledge was much broader than a country bumpkin like Zhuo Mo. He instantly recognized the power of the fiend corpse. When he spoke, he frightened everyone. It had to be said that in all the major Xiuzhajia, the danger any ling beasts or vicious being posed was clear. 4th grade vicious beings were very rare, much less intermediate 5th grade vicious beings. Even Yizheng, who was from Great Buddha Temple, was frightened. Large sects like Great Buddha Temple naturally did not lack ling beasts. Not just 5th grade, the temple even raised a few 6th grade ling beasts. But the 5th and 6th grade ling beasts raised in the temple were harmless babies when compared to this fiend corpse that had formed over tens of thousands of years. With one look at the fiend corpse, a bone-aching coldness jumped into Yizheng's heart. Wei Sheng's expression did not change. He did not blink, and the broken sword in his hand did not waver even a sliver. The fiend corpse stared at Wei Sheng, baring his teeth and displaying a vicious expression. Its right hand was still pressed against the skull on its waist. The Xiuzha around Wei rapidly retreated backwards. Xieshan, Zhongru, Sulong, and the others came forward, and loosely surrounded the fiend corpse. The mood became increasingly more tense. Zhuo Mo's heart suddenly jumped, and his eyes lit up. He urgently shouted, "Xieshan, Zhongru, Shulong, guard the other directions." Be wary of other vicious beings. The trio's hearts shook. They rapidly retreated but were still late. Careful! Enemy attack! Chaotic shouts came from the rear and flanks. At this moment everyone's expression changed, including Zhuamo, diverting attention to the front to attack the back. This fiend corpse understood misdirection. At this moment, the eyes of the fiend corpse facing off with Wei Sheng flashed with red light, and its figure suddenly disappeared. Clang! A crisp sound of a metallic collision rang out so the whole camp could hear. Wei Sheng had raised the broken sword, and as he firmly parried the other's claw, at some unknown time, the fiend soul's 10 fingers had grown into sharp white bone claws. Clang clang clang. The collisions were as rapid as raindrops. Some Xiozha who had not been prepared felt their ears ring. The fiend corpse and Wei Sheng turned to 2 balls of shadow that chased about in the air. Everyone was unable to track their shadows. The fiend corpse's bone claws and Wei Sheng's broken sword crossed and matched. At this time, Zhuamo's expression changed slightly. Damn it! There wasn't just one vicious being that was attacking them from behind. Looking at Wei Sheng who was in fierce combat against the fiend corpse, Zhuamo gritted his teeth, turned and charged towards the back. He believed that with eldest Shixiang's power, even if he could not defeat the fiend corpse, he could slow down the other. If the vicious being that was ambushing formed the back was 5th grade as well, then it was a calamity for the others. Other than the few that had their core formations, everyone else was Ningmai. Ningmai Xiozha in front of 5th grade Yao beasts were as weak as lettuce. This wasn't something that numbers could change. The difference in power was too great. If one 5th grade Yao beast charged in, blood would flow in rivers. Thinking about it, Zhuamo's eyes instantly became red. In name, everyone in this group were his subordinates, but in his heart, they were fellows he could give his life to. 1256. Damn it! There were 6. The damned group. Halfway in the air, Zhuamo suddenly bellowed. The furious howl was like thunder that suddenly spread. The golden yellow and fiery red flame seal armor quickly wrapped around Zhuamo at a rate visible to the naked eye. The half-transparent and gossamer thin golden wings formed silently behind him like they were drawn by an invisible pen. Hiss! Zhuamo's figure disappeared from the air. An enormous shadow covered a one. Within the fiendish mist, there seemed to be a small mountain moving towards him. The ground was rumbling, and pebbles were furiously bouncing. Owen tightly gripped his black spear. His young face was expressionless like the most practiced hunter. Having survived the dueling stadium, Owen might be young, but he had gone through hundreds of fights, and was one that truly climbed out of piles of corpses. But this unknown monster had pressured him to the point he almost couldn't breathe. Even though the other had not attacked yet, Owen was clear this feeling would occur when the enemy's strength was far greater than his. However, he did not retreat because this big guy had wounded several of his brothers. Xu Long was not present, and he was the strongest one present out of guard camp. If he ran now, the other people would directly face this big guy. Then only death awaited them. What should he do? His mind moved quickly. Use his speed to slow down this big guy? At this time, the enormous shadow within the fiendish mist revealed its true face. Owen's pupils suddenly shrank. An ugly sand puppet with the body of a small mountain, that was at least 20 zhang. In front of it, Owen was like an ant. It seemed to move very slowly, but it was able to move over a large distance with each step. Many small flows of sand surrounded it like mist. So ugly. Owen twisted his mouth. He knew his plan of using speed to slow down the other was no longer viable. However, a cold light suddenly flashed through Owen's eyes. He suddenly raised the black spear in his hand. Hardship guard. Owen's angry shout jolted the confused and disorganized guard camp, and quickly calmed them down. They were well trained. After the initial confusion, they quickly organized themselves. When they saw the youngest among them, Owen standing at the front, these men felt their blood rise up. Their necks turned red, and tendons bulging. Without any orders, just like normal, they quickly formed the Crow Fiend Mo killing formation. The spear that Owen had raised was now tilted downwards towards his side. With both his hands grasping the spear, he pointed the tip of the spear straight at the enormous sand puppet that was approaching. All of the hardship guards understood a Wen's meaning instantly. These men that had felt shame at their panic furiously channeled into the formation. Immediately, the fiendish mist was like water that furiously flooded the formation. The fiendish mist that was absorbed into the Crow Fiend Mo killing formation only left behind small threads of black mist. The slender black mist swam and gathered in one direction, towards the very front of the formation, the individual standing with his spear, a one. Chapter 415, Crowd of Monsters. This was the first time A1 was leading the formation. This position had previously been Shulong's. The inky black mist was moving towards him like slender snakes. They gathered from all corners of the formation onto Owen's body. In an instant, Owen was covered in the snake-like mist. His body was shrouded in mist, and his figure became indistinct. It was the first time that Owen had felt as though his body was going to explode. The power was restlessly stirring inside his body, and was trying to escape. The surge PF pure killing essence was like waves that battered at his mind. Along with the cold and dark killing essence came a darkness. The world within his view had become dark. A strong feeling of murderousness rose. He had the impulse to destroy everything. But that lasted for just an instant, and Owen recovered clarity. In that one instant, the world became a blur in his eyes. Owen couldn't help but feel afraid. The situation just now had been extremely dangerous. In their daily cultivation, Shulong had repeatedly warned them not to lose themselves in killing essence. Once they were lost in killing essence, they would become monsters that only knew to kill. Having climbed out of the dueling stadium, Owen's talents were not just outstanding. He was also mentally stronger than the great majority of people. He had never encountered such a dangerous loss of control in his daily cultivation. This was one reason that his progression was far faster than his fellows. But the killing essence that had flooded in had been too great and almost drowned him. Feeling afraid from this experience, Owen became even more careful. However, he had never led the formation before today, so he could only think back to how Shulong usually acted. He quickly found that mimicking Shulong was not as simple as he had imagined. It required special methods to control such a vast amount of killing essence. Damn it! When will the three of them regain consciousness? A member of the Sky Peak platoon sighed. These three are battle maniacs. They will definitely regret missing out on such a spectacular battle. They're seriously wounded. It's good that they are even alive. If it wasn't for Teacher Wei and the others arriving in time, they might not even be alive. A member beside him followed up. It's useless even if they are awake, another member inserted. Why are we just watching right now? We still can't join in? Damn it. Seems we need to try hard to get to Jindan. Us Sky Peak platoon can only stand aside and stare as the others battle. This is embarrassing. The other members felt great empathy with his words. In the past, the Sky Peak platoon had been the elite of Vermilion Bird Camp, comprised of sword shio that comprehended sword essence, peerless in offensive power. But as more members comprehended sword essence, their advantage was not as evident as it was in the past. In reality, their improvement was not minor. This could be seen from their cultivation. All of them had reached the third stratum of Ningmai. They looked to be one step away from Jindan, but it was not so easy to cross that step. While third stratum Shioja were stronger than second stratum, the difference was not so definite. This placed them in an extremely awkward position. Isn't it so? When we were glorious, those brats were still drinking milk. Don't mention the past, nothing to see there. If I say so, the way things are going, Sky Peak platoon is going to be dissolved sooner or later. My ass. You crow mouth. It's the truth. Look at the Shield Guard platoon. Zhongru is Jindan. Our platoon doesn't have even one Jindan. No way. We need to think of something. Think of what? Jindan isn't lettuce, buying some when we want them. It's not that everyone isn't working hard, no one is slacking off, but our improvement is too slow. Now everyone was speechless. That was right. If Jindan was that easy to reach, it wouldn't be so valuable. These members hadn't forgotten. They were all wringing their minds thinking of ways to reach Jindan a little faster. But in the past, who among them had even dared to think they could become Jindan? Alright, stay alert. Guard your position. Anything can wait until we are safe. Due to having 3 wounded members in Sky Peak Platoon, So Gongsun Cha had positioned them as the last line of defense to protect the Golden Crow camp that had little to no combat ability. This made them feel very terrible. Gongsun Cha's expression was very ugly and filled with self-blame. He had been immersed in thoughts about that war chess match these days, which caused his response today to be slightly slow. If Zhuo had not reacted quickly, they would have fallen for the diversionary tactic of these monsters. If the Yao beasts had successfully ambushed them, then, without needing to think, Gongsun Cha knew that the result definitely would have been terrible. He would be unpardonable. This serious mistake deeply stimulated the usually proud and victory-desiring Lil Miss. At the same time, fury erupted from his heart. Hunting, what the Yao beasts were using was a classic method used for hunting. They were being hunted by a group of Yao beasts. Lil Miss' handsome face was furious. There were 6 monsters in total. Other than the fiend corpse facing off against Wei Sheng and the sand puppet that was heading for a 1, the other people had also landed in hard battles. Fighting against Shu Long was an iron rhino. Xieshan was facing a monster that had 6 bone spikes that jutted out of its back. Zhongru was facing a black ball of mist. And Zhuomo's target was a person. Using person to describe it was not accurate, because there was no vitality in half of his body. This person's clothing was torn, and his body seemed to be divided in 2. The right half had a 5-colored pattern that looked as though poisonous insects were climbing all over him, and was startling to see. There was no light in the gray-white eyes that stared indifferently as Zhuo neared. Zhuomo's speed was very quick. Under the full force of the light void wings, he was like lightning. The strange person reached out with a finger. Zhuo felt his vision light up and fill with rainbow-colored light. A strong feeling of danger made every inch of his body uncontrollably shake. Pia. The beast service card on Zhuomo's waist flashed with light. A black butterfly appeared, out of thin air, in front of Zhuo. Black butterfly. Ever since it had entered the 4th grade, Zhuo felt the name of the rainbow mark butterfly was not suited for it, and changed its name to black butterfly. The black butterfly had always stayed in the beast service card. This was the first time it had proactively came out of the beast service card. The black butterfly lightly flapped its wings. Hiss. The rainbow energy was drawn in by an enormous suctioning force, gathering together and headed towards the black butterfly. The rainbow energy continuously entered the black butterfly. Zhuo was astounded. The tiny body of the black butterfly seemed to be a bottomless hole. All of the rainbow energy was sucked in. What made him feel this was even more fantastical was the clear joy the black butterfly was communicating to him. Was this light a poison? When Zhuomo's thought formed, the black butterfly in front of him danced as though it was agreeing with his speculation. Why are there so many fiend corpses? In the sea of consciousness, Pu Yao frowned. Wei said lightly, "This is the battle of sealed extinction." Pu Yao instantly stopped speaking. Right. This was the sealed extinction battlefield. It was not strange for such a rare occurrence to appear here. Zhuo did not think too much. Letting your mind be distracted by stray thoughts in battle was the same as seeking death. Judging that the strange person was using poison, Zhuomo's heart calmed down. The black butterfly was a 4th grade poison butterfly. For it, poisons were like nutrients. Facing the strange person, no, maybe it was more appropriate to call it a strange corpse. It had the strongest power of this crowd of monsters, and should be upper 5th level. If the black butterfly was not here, Zhuo would be in trouble today. The poison released by the 4th grade black butterfly could already corrode Ling power. The poison that this strange corpse released should be even more powerful. The beautiful 5-colored energy spread from the feet of the strange corpse. The hard ground was quickly rotted, and a noxious smell spread. Zhuo accidentally breathed in a thread. He instantly felt dizzy and was shocked inside. Chapter 416, Strange Corpse. When the gray mark on the black butterfly exuded a strong rotten smell, Zhuo knew the situation was not well. Without hesitating, The midday blade in his hand sliced towards the strange corpse. The golden flame that shrouded the blade burst out along with this blow. It turned to a blinding crescent that leapt towards the strange corpse. Midday blade strike. Zhuo knew that the opponent was immeasurably powerful, so he did not hold any power back with this blow. The golden flame blade energy was peerlessly domineering. The air howled around the explosive presence. A different look flashed through the strange corpse's eyes. The raised finger was not lowered, but pointed lightly at the midday blade strike. Boom! The domineering and powerful midday blade strike exploded. As it was released, right in front of Zhuo. Zhuo's vision became white. He was unable to see anything. He was extremely shocked. The other was so terrifyingly powerful. At this time, a feeling of danger rose. Without thinking, the light void wings on his back moved, and his body suddenly disappeared from his spot. On the spot he had just been standing at, a gray light flashed by. Zhuo's heart suddenly contracted. When the light disappeared, everything in his vision became clear again. The strange corpse was still standing at his original spot, as though he had never moved. Even the raised finger had returned to its original place. It was like a statue, one that had no life. There was nothing between him and Zhuo. The black butterfly had disappeared. The strange corpse looked unaffectedly at Zhuo. There was no emotion in its empty and gray eyes. It still did not show any signs of life. Even in such a fierce battle, it did not show any vitality. Coldness sprouted from Zhuo's heart. What monster was this guy? Pu, do you recognize it? Zhuo stared at the other as he remained motionless and asked Pu Yao. No. Pu Yao shook his head. He gave a rare warning. Be careful. I cannot see its power. Zhuo's heart suddenly sank. A level of power that even Pu Yao could not measure. Then, Wei suddenly spoke. Try to talk to him, he may have cognition. Have cognition? Zhuo's mind shifted and he said, Sir, who are you? The statue-like strange corpse's neck cracked as it moved. The gray pupils stared at Zhuo, and its throat sent out dry sounds. Hiss hiss. The strange hisses caused Zhuo's hairs to stand up. Hiss hiss, person. The strange corpse's voice was very indistinct, as though it had been a long time since it had spoken. But Zhuo heard that person. As Wei had suspected, it had cognition. For them this was both good and bad. If the strange corpse was intelligent, then that meant there was the possibility of communicating with them. That was good. But this also meant that if the communication failed, then they were faced with an even more dangerous enemy. Intelligent enemies were undoubtedly harder to fight. Do you understand my words? Zhuo probed. Hiss hiss, croak croak. Blurry sounds like those from a wild beast's throat came. The strange corpse's expression finally changed slightly. He seemed to be trying to remember something. But the change in expression on his already ugly face made it even more terrible. Zhuo jumped in fright. If they enraged the strange corpse, then it really wasn't a joke. Power that even Pu Yao could not measure, they definitely were not a match. Hiss hiss, human. You are human. The strange corpse's eyes held strong emotion, but his voice was still cracking. But Zhuo understood. He hurriedly nodded as his hands moved. Right. I'm human. The subordinates behind Zhuo were stunned by the scene in front of them. Their mouths were gaping as their faces were still. Some of the braver ones couldn't help but laugh lightly. This kind of communication was really weird, especially Darren's reply. It was too funny to hear. Listening to the light laughter behind him, Zhuo instantly knew what those people were thinking. But in order not to provoke the strange corpse, he filled his face with a friendly and harmless smile. He thought inside, just wait for me to sort you fools out later. The strange corpse's twisted expression calmed, and his words became smoother. You. How did you get in? Zhuo's hairs rose at being the focus of the strange corpse's gray eyes. He said, our transportation formation was altered by someone, so we were transported here. Transportation formation? The strange corpse perceptively caught the crux of the information. Yes, transportation formation. Zhuo nodded. What is this transportation formation? The strange corpse asked. This is complicated to explain, Zhuo motioned. No matter. What is least lacking here is time. The strange corpse smiled at him, but Zhuomo's bones shivered at that smile. When he finished speaking, the strange corpse suddenly flicked out a bolt of light. After a while, the 5 other monsters appeared next to him. Of the 5, only the sand puppet looked slightly disheveled. It had a black spear thrust into its body, but compared to its enormous shape, the black spear was like a toothpick. The sand where the black spear was abruptly caved inward, and then swallowed the black spear. Zhuomo inhaled sharply. At the same time, several figures appeared like lightning beside Zhuomo. Each person did not have a good expression. The others' powers were too fantastical. The strange corpse looked at the black sword in Wei Sheng's hands and nodded his head. Didn't think that this sword would end up in your possession. Wei Sheng's eyebrow raised. Zhuomo reacted the quickest and hurriedly asked, Elder, what is the origin of this sword? Ha ha, he will know when the time comes. The strange corpse's speech became increasingly smooth, and his expressions more varied. But this caused him to look even weirder. The strange corpse turned his face to ask Zhuomo, speak about the transformation formation. The transformation formation is a formation method to move from one place to another. Formation method? Didn't even know what a formation method was? Were these guys really survivors of the Battle of Sealed Extinction? His heart couldn't help but beat wildly. The strange corpse seemed to know what Zhuomo was thinking inside. The gray pupils were amused. Zhuomo focused and carved out a transportation formation on the ground. This is a transportation formation. We use it to travel. The strange corpse swept a look and understood. This method is clever, but there are many limitations. Yes. We don't know the general location of this place. One minor difference in the transportation formation, and it creates thousands of li of error. Thinking about it, Zhuomo could only shake his head. But the strange corpse looked at Zhuomo. I know you have another way of leaving. Not waiting for Zhuomo to argue, he said faintly, I have followed you for many days. You want to reach the center of the battlefield. The expressions of those beside Zhuomo were ugly. Someone had followed behind them for so many days, yet none of them had detected it. Zhuomo wasn't too shocked. The other's strength was much greater than theirs. He had a guess. This strange corpse might possibly be an old monster that survived the Battle of Sealed Extinction. In comparison, the strongest of his group was just Jindan. The other could destroy them with a flick of the finger. With your strength, you cannot go into the center of the battlefield. The strange corpse said faintly. Those that died here are the strongest of the world. Their lingering presences are not something you can resist against even after so many years. Having it baldly stated that their power wasn't enough left everyone with black faces. But the others' immeasurable power made them not dare to rebuke the statement. Zhuomo reacted the quickest, or rather of everyone. He had the best understanding of the strange corpse and his group's power. Since he understood their present situation the best, his mentality was the most appropriate. Please, Elder, teach us. Zhuomo said with a bow. The strange corpse showed a satisfied expression. Even though the half-multicolored face caused him to look horrifying. He did not drag it out. I can take you in, but I will leave with you. Zhuomo released a breath and said, It is our honor. No one had an opinion for the addition of the strange corpses group. Reality quickly proved that this decision was correct. The addition of the strange corpse caused all the other monsters along the road to disappear. Their speed increased greatly. The strange corpse was not silent, but talkative. He was very interested in talking with Zhuomo. Zhuomo might not have proven his speculations on the identity of the strange corpse, but he received a great deal of information. For example, out of the group of 6, only the strange corpse had intelligence. The other 5 were vicious beings that were born in this patch of fiendish ground. Whenever he conversed with the strange corpse, Pu Yao and Wei would remain silent. They were very wary of the strange corpse. Just how perceptive of expression was Zhuomo? Seeing the strange corpse held no ill will towards them, he took out the totem fragments they had obtained and asked for guidance from the strange corpse. Ha, you guys want even this? The strange corpse laughed, his tone disinterested. These are too fragmented, there is nothing very useful. Elder recognizes this? Zhuomo hurriedly asked. Very normal stuff. Every tribe will have them, used for sacrificial offerings. How to use them? The totem itself has Shen power. Shen power. Belief creates Shen power. Shen power nurtures the totem, so the totem can form. Mo did not understand. As expected, the stuff of ancient times and the present were two different things. He could only change his question. Elder, how can this thread of intelligence in the fragment be forged? What is the use of this bit of intelligence? The strange corpse did not think much of the fragment. Mo didn't know what to say. If this fragment was on the outside world, there would be countless people that would want this. Filled men do not know the hunger of hungry men. Mo muttered. Now that they were familiar, Mo had generally gotten a grasp on the strange corpse's temper. He knew the other would not get angry over this. The strange corpse glanced at him. Don't worry. There are many things better than this along the way. I will help you get some. Mo was overjoyed. Many thanks, Elder. Don't thank me. Without you, I cannot leave. The strange corpse taught. Your methods are too gentle. If you want to forge the intelligence of this fragment, you have to use force. Force. Mo was dumbstruck. It was the first time he heard of doing that. Submit or die. The strange corpse said faintly. Seeing the shock on Mo's face, the strange corpse said, totems are born to protect the tribe. Their intelligence is not high, about the same as wild beasts. As long as they know they will die if they do not submit, they will naturally be tamed. Before Mo could react, the strange corpse raised his head and looked into the distance. Careful. We are going to enter the core area now. Mo felt as though he walked out of the fiendish mist. Everything was open in front of him. Chapter 417. Sea of golden crystal sand. The dunes in their sight were endless. The glittering gold sand was like a golden sea. And these rising dunes were like the waves of this golden sea. This scene was spectacular. The golden crow camp at the back of their procession suddenly became restless. It's golden crystal sand. Heavens, all of this is golden crystal sand. Oh heavens, it really is golden crystal sand. Heavens, what place is this? How can there be this much golden crystal sand? The restlessness from the rear rippled forward, and Mo couldn't help but be stunned. He bent down and grabbed a handful of sand. When the gold sand entered his hand, his first thought was heavy. When he examined it, the golden sand was actually half transparent. Each speck was a cube. At the center of the cube was a hair-thin golden thread. The reason that the sand was such a strong golden color was due to this extremely thin golden hair. It really was golden crystal sand. 5th grade golden crystal sand. Mo dazedly looked at the golden sea in front of him, his mind blank as he allowed the golden crystal sand to slip through his fingers. This is the area where the totem of the Sun tribe fell. So it is the land of the sunset. The Sun tribe had the sun as its totem, and had many powerful tribal warriors. It was one of the strongest tribes in all of the Jia. The strange corpse's voice was calm and emotionless, without any rise, as though he was describing a normal matter. Mo recovered from his daze. He furiously scooped golden crystal sand into his ring. Heavens, this was golden crystal sand. 5th grade golden crystal sand. On the outside, it was sold by the grain. If he let this opportunity go, he would be struck by lightning. Mo had never felt he was so rich before. It wasn't just him. All the Xiozha of the Golden Crow camp were furiously packing in the golden crystal sand. Everyone's eyes were red. Seeing this made their hearts beat faster, and their blood flow more rapidly. In front of such a patch of golden crystal sand sea, everyone was crazy. The strange corpse tilted his head. This and is useful to you? This is golden crystal sand. Mo didn't raise his head as he furiously packed golden crystal sand into his ring and said rapidly, a 5th grade material. I can't even find a place to buy this on the outside. Do you know this is worth a lot? Right. We've struck it rich this time. There is so much here, how are you going to take it all? The strange corpse pointed at the endless sea of sand. Mo's movements paused. The endless sea of sand in front of him seemed to be reminding him that the golden crystal sand he was packing away was just a drop in the ocean. The bursting joy turned to grief. Zuomo's tears flowed down his face. The golden crystal sand sea was in front of him, but he could not take all of it. The greatest pain in life was this. Looking at the vast sea of sand, Zuomo was still for a while. After a long while he refocused and gritted out a few words. Set up camp. The troop quickly set up camp. Everyone was in a sort of frenzy and their movements unusually brisk. Forge all of this. Flying swords, ling armors, forge it all with golden crystal sand. Zuomo's bellows rang out over the entire camp. Everyone was upbeat. All of Golden Crow camp members had eyes filled with blood. As production Xiuzha, they had no resistance towards high-level materials. Vermilion Bird Camp was also excited. They learned from the Golden Crow camp members that golden crystal sand was great material for forging flying swords. The flying swords forged from it were unable to be damaged, so sharp they could cut through everything. Even more importantly, it was at least 5th grade. A 5th grade flying sword, that was enough for a sword shio to risk it all. This land of sunset was filled with the presence of the sun. The power of the Golden Crow fire had greatly increased. The Xiuzha of Golden Crow camp started on their difficulty task of forging with golden crystal sand. Yes, it was very difficult. They were mostly from grassroots. They had pitifully few encounters with 4th grade materials, let alone 5th grade materials. Golden Crow fire was also a 4th grade flame. Even though its power had greatly increased, but it was not easy to forge golden crystal sand. The great majority of people could only forge 1 grain at a time. The strange corpse looked with interest at this group of people. Calming down, Zuomo suddenly realized this was a rare and wonderful opportunity. So much golden crystal sand. Other than the value of the golden crystal sand itself, it could also provide everyone with a great chance to practice. Using golden crystal sand to practice, for a forging Xiuzha, was there anything more extravagant and sumptuous than this? Zuomo's mood suddenly became light. Using 5th grade materials to practice. The experience he would get was much greater than with normal materials. Even Zuomo started to pick up the forging crafts he had decided to throw away a long time ago, and started to process golden crystal sand. The strange corpse did not hurry them. He looked curiously as Zuomo forged. All of this was very unfamiliar to him. Your flame is better than theirs. The strange corpse might not understand forging, but he still had his eyes. Yes, I'm their head. Zuomo was slightly smug, but his hands didn't stop for an instant. Head. The strange corpse repeated and chewed this word. He raised his head and asked, "Does it mean leader?" Elder's comprehension is really good. Zuomo flattered. He then asked curiously, "Elder, how did you forge talismans in your time?" Talismans? What are talismans? The strange corpse asked in puzzlement. Oh, the flying swords they use are one type of talisman. Really, it is stuff that is made using all kinds of materials in order to increase our strength, Zuomo explained. The strange corpse was slightly dazed. Your sword, oh flying sword, it is a clever trick. But the quality is lacking, and the power it adds is too little. It is also too fine. There are many places that it does not need to be so fine. As long as the materials have enough cognition, they will merge together, and have greater power. Zuomo choked. He could only ask in response, "Elder, did you have many materials with cognition during your time?" Everywhere. The strange corpse had a matter-of-fact expression. He pointed at the ground. Stuff like this, no one would want this. Zuomo almost spat blood. So the golden crystal sand that was a treasure in their eyes was stuff that no one else wanted. However, Zuomo understood upon thinking about it. The number of cultivators in ancient times could not compare to now. After so many years of development and production, after generations of harvesting and division, there naturally won't be much left of even the greatest amount of materials. Thinking about it that way, Zuomo found it fair. Times are different. If this was taken out now, it would be considered good. Materials that have cognition are rare and too precious. The strange corpse was a very intelligent person. He nodded in understanding and said, "No wonder you have developed such clever methods." His next words caused Zuomo's flame to shake. The golden crystal sand in the middle of the flame that was going to melt instantly turned back to normal. There is something better inside this patch of sand. What good thing? Zuemo asked urgently. Something better than golden crystal sand. Wouldn't that at least be 6th grade? 6th grade material. In this moment, Zuemo actually felt a threat of terror. 5th grade materials might be rare, but he still had obtained a few items. But 6th grade materials, he hadn't ever dared to even think about it. Even the tiniest bit of 6th grade material was enough to bring calamities. However, this threat of terror quickly disappeared. Since ancient times, the daring died from overeating, while the cowardly died from hunger. He also had so many fellows, and the future wasn't something a person could entirely shape to their will. Zuemo's gaze quickly became heated. The strange corpse tilted his head and swept a gaze across the sand. His gaze locked on a certain dune, and then it pointed over. Bang! An enormous sound, and a faraway sand dune suddenly exploded. Zuemo gaped with wide eyes. This sand dune was at least 100 zhang high. It looked like a small mountain. But the strange corpse just pointed, and the resulting explosion turned it all to dust. A sand dune made up from golden crystal sand was at least millions of caddies heavy, and under this gesture, had it became dust, Zuemo felt a hint of fear. It was lucky that he hadn't tried to battle to death against this freak. The strange corpse calmly made a grabbing motion with his hand. A golden shadow penetrated the sand swirling in the sky and flew into his hand. An orange ball of fire. The burning heat rushed at him. Zuemo couldn't help but take a few steps back. Enduring wave after wave of heat, he felt that his eyebrows were burning. He looked in shock at the fireball in the strange corpse's hand. Such high temperature. Such a powerful flame. The orange-red flame burned like a miniature sun. This flame's temperature was so high it surpassed any flame that Zuemo knew of. Within the orange-red fireball, it was possible to discern a faint sphere. This is called a sun crystal seed. In the past it was the seed of the Sun tribe's totem. However, the Sun tribe has probably died out by now, and it can no longer be used for the Sun totem. The strange corpse looked at Zuemo. Do you want it? Treasure. Definitely an ultimate treasure. Not ordinary. Zuemo was an experienced hand at studying reassures. He could see with a glance that the fireball's value definitely surpassed everything on his body added together. Staring at the fireball, he felt a hint of trepidation, but he gritted his teeth and said without hesitating, Want. He'll want it even if he died. Its temperature is too high, you cannot tolerate it. I will help you seal it. When your strength reaches a certain level, you can unlock the seal. When the strange corpse finished speaking, without seeing him move, the orange-red flames quickly became dim, and revealed the true face of the sphere inside. It was a sphere that looked just the same as normal crystal spheres that did not have any light. Zuemo took over the crystal ball. His hand suddenly sank down, and his pupils dilated. It was so heavy. With the great Demo physique, Zuemo was so strong that no one was a match for him in the camp. But he was almost unable to hold this little crystal ball. Zuemo guessed that this crystal ball was tens of thousands of caddies heavy. He struggled to put the crystal ball into his ring. He released a breath. The strange corpse had solved a great problem for him. After being sealed, the crystal ball was unattractive and unassuming. As long as no one reached to take it, no one would think that this nondescript crystal ball was at least a top 6th grade material. After the strange corpse threw the crystal ball to Zuemo, he did not show any more intentions of acting. He did not hurry them and started to examine people who were forging. All of the members of the Golden Crow camp were furiously processing. This chance to practice with 5th grade materials would likely never appear in front of them again. Suddenly, the strange corpse appeared next to Zuemo and said, "A sandstorm is coming." Sandstorm. Zuemo first paused and then his expression changed dramatically. Golden crystal sand was a good material, yes. But if it was sandstorm that was formed from golden crystal sand, the power from it. Chapter 418. Sandstorm. A black line could be seen on the horizon. and it was rushing towards them at astonishing speed. In a short period of time, the black line had multiplied in size. The golden crystal sand was picked up by the wind, and the resulting sandstorm blocked the sun. The sky instantly darkened. The storm front looked like an ancient beast that was howling. Zhuo paled. He howled at the top of his lungs. Into the boat! Into the boat! Without needing Zhuo's management, everyone started to systematically move. The Xiuzhou of Golden Crow Camp threw away the golden crystal sand in their hands without a second word, and moved like a legion of ants towards the slave-transporting boat. The Golden Crow lit up with faint light, and the other boats also started to light up. This meant that the defensive formations on the boats had been activated. Every slave-transporting boat had been redesigned and renovated. They had engraved the boats with all kinds of defensive formations. But to save Ling power, these formations were usually not activated. Everyone was trained and quickly entered the slave-transporting boats. There were only Zhuo, Wei Sheng, and the few that were the strongest left outside. Zhuo called to the strange corpse to go into the boat together. The strange corpse shook his head. This bit of a sandstorm isn't anything. Thinking about the strange corpse's enormous power, Zhuo did not force him. He was preparing to call the others into the boat when the strange corpse suddenly said, "I suggest that you all do not go in." "Why?" Zhuo asked curiously. "You are all more powerful than the rest," the strange corpse said. "But your cultivations do not seem to be stable. You must have broken through not long ago. This kind of sandstorm is a chance for you, a chance to strengthen yourselves." The people were thoughtful. The strange corpse said faintly, "Do not give up any opportunity to strengthen yourself. This is very beneficial for you." Wei Sheng, Xieshan, and the others were very moved. These normal words embodied with the obsession to cultivate. The cultivation maniac Wei Sheng spoke first. "Yes. I will not go inside." Xieshan tightly followed. "I won't go inside either." Xu Long did not say anything, but the determination in his eyes displayed his decision. Zhongru's hands were together as he stood with closed eyes, but the decisiveness showed on his face. Zhuo stared with wide eyes at this group, and wanted to swear. "You idiots, you're so stupid. One sentence from that person, and you were all fooled." But he only dared to swear inside. The strange corpse's gaze did not land on him, but he still felt a blade pointed at his back. Looking at Wei Sheng and the others remaining still, Zhuo gritted through his teeth as though he was possessed by a ghost and said, "All right, then everyone can go together." When he finished speaking, he regretted it. Wasn't he just asking for abuse? Why did he go and accompany them in their craziness? It really was crazy. All of them were crazy. The other people looked at each other, and then laughed out loud. Zhuo forced himself to squeeze a smile onto his face, but it was uglier than crying. The sandstorm arrived very quickly, faster than they had imagined. A moment ago it was on the horizon then, and in a flash, it was in front of him. The sound was shocking. Zhuo's face was white, and unconfident inside. Pia pia pia. The first wave of the sandstorm hit the shining light covers of the slave-transporting boats, and caused sparks to fly everywhere. The golden crystal sand was extremely dense, and each seemingly tiny grain was very heavy. The wind was very fast, and each grain of golden crystal sand it carried was astoundingly powerful. Zhuo and the others quickly experienced the power of the sandstorm. The power of the wind was tolerable. All of them were exceptionally skilled, and could stabilize themselves in the wild wind. But the ever-present golden crystal sand was truly hard to deal with. Even Zhuo, who had the protection of the Great Day Mo physique, felt pain from the barrage of sand. The pain the others felt could be imagined. Everyone was furiously channeling Ling power to protect their body. Xu Long, who was covered in armor, was drowning in sparks. Only the strange corpse had a calm face. The space within 1 zhang of him was undisturbed. The area was filled with warm winds and radiating light. Zhuo was quickly overwhelmed and could no longer look around. The sandstorm had increased in power. It became even difficult for him to stabilize his body. He had to hunch over to try to reduce the resistance against the terrifying sandstorm. The golden crystal sand rained down on his body. Under the flame seal armor, it was unusually painful. This wind wasn't right. The wind that had just started was producing a different sound than just a moment ago. There was a feeling of tearing in the howling, as though there were hundreds of sharp knives rubbing together. Hard wind. This was hard wind. Hard wind was like a blade. Its most famous quality was being able to tear apart the Ling power that protected one's body. But in reality, the hard wind didn't just tear through Ling power, it could also tear apart Emo physiques. Zuo could not open his eyes. His ears were filled with wails and cries. He bit down hard and did not dare to relax. The hard wind was growing stronger. The howl of the hard wind seemed to have an unusual power, and could stun one's soul. Zuo did not have the spare energy to think about analyzing the experience. In this degree of hard wind, if he slacked off in the slightest, he would instantly be torn apart and turned to powder. The hard wind that carried golden crystal sand was like an enormous grinder that could reduce everything into a powder. The strange corpse glanced at the slave-transporting boats that were wavering against the hard wind. He suddenly reached out to point at the trembling slave-transporting boats. The Ling shields on each slave-transporting boat suddenly became brighter, and the boats instantly stabilized. The states of Zuo and the others were not good. Xieshan had long ago summoned his flying sword. Circles of multicolored light spun around his body like rainbows. An enormous shadow appeared behind Zhongru. He summoned the attainment golden body. Xu Long had also summoned his black Ji, and his body seemed to be nailed to the ground. After a while, Wei Sheng, who had been motionless all this time, finally raised the black sword in his hand. A vigorous sword essence erupted and tightly wrapped around Wei Sheng. Zuo's Great Day Emo physique was being channeled to the maximum. Flames rampaged across the flame seal armor, and heartily burning in the hard wind. The sandstorm covered the sky. In the middle of the storm, Zuo and the others were unable to see anything in the darkness. Zuo only felt that every muscle was burning. When every grain of the golden crystal sand hit his body with the hard wind, he felt a heart-boring pain. In the dark sandstorm, sparks flew like rain and tightly surrounded Zuo. They came from all directions and pushed Zuo to the point he was unable to move. The impenetrable flame seal armor started to warp from the furious blows of the sandstorm. Blows that made him unable to breathe. It was the first time Zuo had encountered such a suffocating attack. Other than bearing through it, he could not think of any other solution. Even when he had been facing clear sky old forefather, he had not been as disheveled as now. Today, he learned just how immeasurable the power of the world was. Zuo's body rattled like dice, and his energy quickly flowed. Every breath was so long. This sandstorm seemed endless and made one feel hopeless. Sparks continuously flew. The flame seal armor continuously changed shape. Pia pia pia, several golden crystal sand grains penetrated the flame seal armor and hit Zuo's body. Zuo's figure swayed and he almost fell. No. He almost couldn't persist anymore. Zuo gritted his teeth and bore it out, stabilizing his figure. He knew if he lost control of his body, then there was no possibility of survival. The ever-present golden crystal sand and the hard wind that could enter any opening would take his life. Pew pew pew. Several bursts of blood suddenly sprayed, and was ground into a bloody mist by the sandstorm as it left his body. The powerful Great Day Emo physique seemed to become fragile in front of this sandstorm. Ever since he had begun cultivating the Great Day Emo physique, especially as he had become familiarized with the 6 transformations, Zuo had never been wounded. But today he was forcibly beaten down and covered in wounds. With a string of screeching cracks, the flame seal armor suddenly crumbled. The hard wind carried the golden crystal sand from all directions as it burrowed into Zuo's body. Pew, dozens of tiny blood arrows shot out. Zuo's pupils suddenly unfocused and his body froze. Even more golden crystal sand leapt at him, as though they were sharks that smelt blood. A bellow like that of a wounded wild beast. Zuo's eyes were completely red, his hair standing on end. A tendril of blood came from his mouth. The successive wounds had enraged him. He was wounded, wounded, wounded. Deep inside his body, something seemed to break. A warm wave erupted. Zuo's entire body became boiling. The blood in his vessels was like lava. Every nerve was shaking. Every muscle was shaking. His entire body was shaking. His body was completely red like burning metal. In the sea of consciousness, Wei's expression changed greatly. Is his great day mo physique going through its second breakthrough? Pu Yao found it strange. Breakthrough is good. Wei's expression was serious as he shook his head and said, he is reaching the destination too fast too. His great day mo physique has just gone through the first breakthrough, or the first maturation that you know of it as. But if he successively has 2 breakthroughs in such a short period of time, then there is a possibility that he will not be able to reach the 3rd breakthrough before he levels up. That is also good. Pu Yao was slightly confused. He might understand how to cultivate his MO, but on the details, he was far lacking compared to Wei. It is not good. Wei shook his head. His MO physique cultivation talent is astounding. I hadn't thought that he would reach his 2nd breakthrough this quickly. But with the growth of a MO physique faster is not better. It is like the growth of a person. Too rapid of growth will leave behind hidden weaknesses. What he needs right now is to make a good foundation. He has just had a breakthrough. His body has not reached the limits of maturation in this stage. A breakthrough with a body that is not mature would lower the limits of what his body can tolerate. Pu Yao instantly understood what Wei meant. His expression also became grave. He was of outstanding knowledge, and once seen many geniuses that had pursued speed and cultivation, and had not set a good foundation when they were young. Their ability to maintain their cultivating speed had been lacking. The two sank into silence and stared nervously at Zuomo. Zuomo did not know that he was at a very crucial time. He only felt that his entire body was immersed in lava. His entire body was filled with endless power as though nothing could stop him. Brutality, craziness, and the most primitive impulses controlled his mind. He wanted to bellow, he wanted to shout, he wanted to destroy everything. There seemed to be an invisible wall around his body. The hard wind and golden crystal sand that had seemed invincible before were forcibly stopped on the outside. The strange corpse's eyes saw through the sand and stared at Zuomo. His gaze landed on Zuomo's chest. A cool slender flow silently flowed past Zuomo's heart. At the same time on the slave transporting boat, Ague seemed to detect something and stood up, her eyes lighting up with a serene purple energy. Chapter 419. Forced to the precipice. Zuomo's mind suddenly cleared. It was the 5-element glass bead inside his body. Faint water element power flowed along his channels and nurtured his dry and bright red channels. But pitted against the great day banded flame, this portion of water element power was like a cup of water, and consumed by the strong flame instantly. But this weak water element power had allowed Zuomo, who had entered an unusual state, a very brief moment of clarity. It was this brief clarity that pulled Zuomo from the edge of the cliff. He instantly detected danger, great danger. He did not know where the danger was. In fact, the expanding power inside his body was intoxicating. Yet at this time, he displayed shocking calmness, because he smelt that the great danger lingered under the great power. But he quickly found he did not know how to get out this unusual state. He wanted to ask for help from Pu Yao, but no matter how he shouted inside, he could not feel the existence of Pu Yao. There seemed to be a power that separated him and Pu Yao. This was going to be fatal. He didn't have time to groan before he was swallowed once again by the bursting flame. At this moment, a faint blue light once again came from the 5-element glass bead in his body. As it slowly spun, faint water element power erupted again. The water element power this time was thicker than previously. The Great Day Banded Flame was rampaging in Zuomo's body. It was created from the Great Day Mo physique, and the 6th grade Great Day Banded Flame was filled with destructiveness. It hadn't been tamed by Zuomo to start with. Stimulated by the outside environment, it started to resist. It was like a furious wild beast, power in angry waves. The Great Day Mo physique that had just finished the first maturation was fragile in front of this terrifying power, as though it would be consumed at any moment. The golden Great Day Banded Flame permeated every fiber of muscle, every bone. The Great Mo physique of the Great Day Mo physique, that had completed the first maturation was unable to withstand the tyrannical Great Day banded flame. Flesh and blood that had not matured perfectly instantly burned to dust. Even the strong flesh and blood that had completed the maturation perfectly were slowly melting under the heat of the Great Day banded flame. The process seemed akin to tempering. If it could be completed, Zuomo's body would reach terrifying new heights in power. The water element power that had just been released by the 5-element glass bead was instantly surrounded by the Great Day banded flame, and a strong collision occurred. Hiss hiss hiss. The light blue stream and the golden flame crossed, but the water element power quickly was defeated. The ferocious Great Day banded flame was like a savage beast that easily burnt the water element power, until there wasn't a drop left. It seemed to be still unsatisfied and immediately leap at the 5-element glass bead. This conflict that appeared to have no meaning once again allowed Zuomo to receive a brief moment of clarity. As though he had been scooped out of lava, Zuomo's vision was still completely red. If it was said that last time he had just smelt the scent of danger, then this time, he truly realized just how dangerous his situation was. He panted heavily as every nerve burned in pain. Savagery and insanity furiously attack his nervous. He suppressed the demonic impulse to destroy everything. No. He could not keep going like this. Zuomo wrung his brains and tried to think. Zuomo was locked inside a cauldron. He didn't know what was going on with Pu Yao, did not what was happening to the others. He didn't have the time or the energy to spare thinking about others. Forced to the precipice, there was only one thought in his mind. Stop the Great Day banded flame. Uncontrolled tempering that would not submit to control. The 5-element glass bead was obviously the loser of the battle, with the Great Day banded flame. The grade difference between the two was too great. The Great Day banded flame had completely surrounded the 5-element glass bead, and was furiously pressing in. The 5-element glass bead was starting to spin slower and slower. What to do? The Great Day banded flame did not listen to Zuomo's orders at all. It was like a bloodthirsty monster that rampaged in his body. All the techniques used in cultivating the Great Day Emo physique were useless. The Great Day banded flame that had been coincidentally formed far surpassed the limits of what his Great Day Emo physique could control. This great leap of progress finally caused Zuomo trouble for the first time. Damn it. What to do? Almost forced into insanity, Zuomo used all the powers that he could use. Ling power, spiritual power. These were not strong powers, but he channeled them as though he was completely crazy. It was the first time that he used Ling power, spiritual power, and the Emo physique simultaneously without holding anything back. Just to resist the 6th grade Great Day banded flame. They were completely different, but these unconnected powers were fighting together. They started a fierce conflict around the 5-element glass bead. Zuomo's Ling power was sent into the 5-element glass bead, and the sealed 5-element glass bead detected danger. It greedily absorbed Zuomo's Ling power. The 5-element glass bead that almost stopped spinning started to gradually spin faster. The dim light lit up again, and the water element power released was multiple times greater than what it had been before. And Zuomo's consciousness was furiously releasing water Yao arts. Inside Zuomo's body, the manipulation of his consciousness was even easier. The rate that these water Yao arts were released was so fast it was frightening. Facing the 5-element glass bead's water element power and the water Yao arts, the Great Day banded flame was still dominating. The enormous difference in grade was not something that could be filled just by numbers. If the water element power tried to push forward, it would be forced back by the Great Day banded flame. When those astounding numbers of water Yao arts flew into the Great Day banded flame, it was like they were being thrown into a bottomless pit. There was no response. Zuomo controlled the Emo physique and tried to vent the power of the Great Day banded flame to the outside. It was also ineffective. The Great Day banded flame inside his body was like a beast that lost control. All the methods to control it in the past had completely lost effectiveness now. The situation was still slowly and persistently developing in a dangerous direction. The only thing worth celebrating was that while the Great Day banded flame raged, it also blocked the hard wind and the golden crystal sand. Zuomo's terrible situation caused Pu Yao and Wei to wear grave expressions and show the utmost concern. The power of the Great Day Banded Flame had completely cut off their connection to Zuomo. They could only stare, and were unable to do anything. Due to the fact the Great Day Banded Flame was born from the Great Day Mo physique, and was strongly yang, it was extremely fatal to existences like Pu Yao and Wei. Pu Yao and Wei's power had been too greatly expended. Even if they had received reinforcement from the Golden Souls and recovered slightly, but facing a natural enemy like the Great Day Banded Flame, they still couldn't do a thing. That guy still isn't acting? Pu Yao's bloody pupil flashed with a cold light. He's really composed, Wei said emotionally. His expression was also terrible. This event originally had been a chance for him. If Zuomo was willing to take up his succession, he could have easily resolved the complications. But he had not expected that the Great Day Banded Flame was so domineering that it had forcibly blocked the connection between Zuomo and themselves. Right now they couldn't even help, much less pass anything on. Their only hope was the strange corpse. On the way here, the strange corpse had not showed any enmity towards Zuomo, and was instead very friendly. With the strange corpse's power, it would only take a flick of the finger to solve Zuomo's trouble. Yet, even though the situation was now so dangerous, the strange corpse still showed no signs of moving. For Pu Yao and Wei, Zuomo's situation was directly connected to their future. If the Great Day Banded Flame's power was completely released inside Zuomo's body, Zuomo would be directly burned to dust, and they could not avoid the same fate. The duo's gazes as they stared at the strange corpse were very unfriendly. Zuomo understood his dangerous situation. He forcibly fought off the influence of the Great Day Banded Flame, even though the power was so seductive. Who was strong and weak could be seen with a glance. Zuomo understood that if he could not immediately figure out an effective method, his outcome would definitely be very terrible. If he had the time to think, he would have definitely regretted cultivating the Great Day Mo physique. But he didn't have the time to think. All of his attention was focused on the battle inside his body. After the brief pause was a one-way advance. It caused him to have a deep understanding of the deep abyss between grades. He realized that normal methods were basically useless. The strong feeling of burning and exhilaration attacked his mind like the tide. But at this time, Zuomo completely calmed down. He had put in all the power that he could use from his body, but he still was not a match for the Great Day Banded Flame. Zuomo's mind moved quickly. How could he get his power to become stronger? A bolt of lightning suddenly flashed through Zuomo's mind. A daring yet matter-of-fact idea floated up in his mind. His three types of powers were fighting for themselves, and were not a match for the Great Day Banded Flame. What about merging them together? Would it become more powerful? It was like the gate had opened. Inspiration bursted out. Zuomo thought about how he had tried to use fire Yao arts to forge because he could not use the Great Day Banded Flame. Even though he had not succeeded, but he had found a discernible path that could connected fire Yao arts, consciousness, Ling power, and fire control. This idea was just a vague and general one. He had prepared to settle down before studying it. But at this time, while he was slowly drowning against the waves of power, Zuomo seemed to find a life-saving piece of driftwood. Without care to anything else he grabbed on, and he started to experiment. He did not have the time to hesitate. He withdrew Heis Ling power from the 5-element glass bead. At this time, there was only half of his Ling power remaining. His consciousness quickly wrapped around the Ling power. Zuomo could feel every detail of the Ling power. The connection between Ling power and consciousness was very tricky. The Ling power inside a Xiujia's body was what the Xiujia obtained after absorbing it from the outside, and then processing it into even purer Ling power. Yao arts, that was the consciousness controlling all kinds of primary energies of the outside world. Yao arts were like using a lever to move all kinds of Ling power in the natural world. When Zuomo's consciousness wrapped onto the Ling power, a wondrous feeling occurred. Among the Xiujia, Zuomo's consciousness was pretty big, and among the Yao, Zuomo's Ling power was also very powerful. When the two entwined together, a strange change occurred. The consciousness was able to control the Ling power roaming in the outside world. And his Ling power was even purer and abundant than the Ling power on the outside. But the strange feeling stimulated Zhuo, but he couldn't help but furrow his brow. He seemed to feel that something was lacking. Physique. That was right, physique. He understood that he finally found the key to the crucial problem. He forcibly suppressed the joy and excitement inside. An idea he never had before rapidly took shape in his mind. Chapter 420. Very normal. Once this crazy idea was formed, it securely took over Zhuo's entire mind. All stray thoughts were thrown to the side. Truthfully, at such a dangerous moment, finding a plausible idea was enough for him to gamble everything. There was just no other choice. The 5-element glass bead was in great danger, and could be swallowed by the Great Day Banded Flame at any moment. The 5-element glass bead was his last defense. If it was swallowed by the Great Day Banded Flame, the crazy Great Day Banded Flame would instantly consume him. Zhuo's eyes suddenly turned entirely red. He gathered all the remaining power he had in his body, and used all of the 6 transformations of the Great Day physique at the same time. The Great Day Banded Flame was freed from its restraints and exploded to cover his entire body. The golden flame were clearly divided in concentric circles, but flickered at the same rhythm. It was enchanting and appeared like golden rainbows. But Zhuo was not in the mood to admire the beauty of the Great Day Banded Flame. His power was quickly being expended. The consciousness and Ling power that were mixed together suddenly separated into many portions, and rained upon every corner of his body. Like raindrops, they quickly permeated into Zhuo's flesh and blood. Boom! Zhuo felt as though something inside his body had suddenly exploded. His mind was completely blank. At the same time, the Great Day Banded Flame that shrouded Zhuo strangely stopped moving. The 5-element glass bead also stopped spinning. At this moment, all movement inside Zhuo's body stopped. Time seemed to stop. Pa! A light explosion broke this strange calmness. His left foot exploded without warning. Yet the blood seemed to be constrained by an invisible force, transforming the spray into rice-sized beads of blood. Pa pa pa! A string of explosions. Many parts of Zhuo's body continuously exploded. The string of blood beads extended up Zhuo's legs and spread upwards. Channels, joints, organs. Pa 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 pa! Zhuo's spine popped like popcorn. His body shook fiercely, but the Great Day Banded Flame seemed to be frozen and remained motionless. When the last bead of the 36 blood beads appeared at the center of Zhuo's brows, his body quieted down again. There was no expression of joy or grief on Zhuo's face, just indifference. Hiss! The ferocious Great Day Banded Flame was quickly absorbed into the body. Once it entered the body, it was divided into 36 flows that spread into the 36 beads of blood. The dark red beads of blood seemed to be dyed with a layer of gold. The 6 changes of the Great Day physique collapsed like an avalanche. The Ling armor and talismans he wore on his body turned to dust. The only thing left on his body was the ring on his hand. Inside the sandstorm, Zhuo was like a person that never cultivated before. There was no energy on his body. The only thing that caused fear was his eyes, that pair of indifferent and cold eyes. The sandstorm was powerful, but it was not able to go near 1 zhang around him. The space of 1 zhang radius around him was deathly silent. The strange corpse stared at Zhuo as though there was something on his face. That pair of gray eyes showed a rare thoughtful expression. When Zhuo regained consciousness, an unknown amount of time later, he saw was many concerned gazes. "Why are you all looking at me?" Zhuo reflexively said. He suddenly felt that his body was cold. He looked down and he instantly blushed. With rapid speed, he took out a piece of clothing from the ring and covered his body with it. What was the situation? His brain was dazed. What happened? He suddenly recalled his memories. His expression changed. Sandstorm. Right. He had just been in the sandstorm. Hadn't he encountered trouble? What was this? Zhuo's expression changed slightly as he hurriedly inspected his body. The inside of his body was empty. It didn't seem any different than usual, but when Zhuo tried to channel Ling power, his expression couldn't help but change. Why was it like this? His Ling power, consciousness, and body had merged into one. His Ling power in the past was like the water that flowed in a stream, and was easy to manipulate. But his Ling power seemed to be a layer of oil on his flesh and blood. It was very viscous and flowed extremely slowly. His spiritual power, which had been like a mist before, was now an enormous web that passed through his entire body. Countless branches spread into every piece of flesh. The strangest was his body. The peerlessly tyrannical Great Day banded flame did not float in the Danton like before but permeated into his flesh and blood. This caused his flesh and blood to have a golden sheen. What was this? Zuo was stunned. Shitty, are you alright? Wei Sheng saw Zuo's shocked expression and hurriedly asked. All of them had benefited from this sandstorm, but Zuo had seemed slightly off. Everyone had been very worried. Zuo refocused. Seeing the worry on all the faces, he forced a smile and said, Nothing. Hearing Zuo say he was alright, everyone released a breath. The crowd left. Zuo suddenly saw the strange corpse out of the corner of his eyes. His mind shifted and he ran toward the strange corpse. His feet seemed to be exerting the same force as usual, but the scene in front of him blurred. He had jumped forward. Before he understood what happened, he seemed to hit something with a bang, and his field of vision turned black. Zuo was dumbstruck. Fine sand spilled into his mouth. He finally reacted as knew where he was. He was inside a sand dune. Without needing to use his consciousness, he was able to detect everyone in the surrounding. He really was in the sand. He had fallen headfirst into the sand. What was going on? He did not understand. His hand unconsciously moved to push himself out of the sand. Before his hands could even exert force, his body rocketed multiple zhang high into the air. Midair, Zuo allowed the golden crystal sand to fall from his body with a blank expression. Who could tell him what was going on? Face bewildered, Zuo dropped like a rock. When he was about 10 zhang from the ground, he still didn't know what had happened, but he knew it was definitely because of a change in his body. He was thinking about it when he reached the ground. When this thought appeared, Zuo's vision blurred again. When he could see clearly, he was already on the ground. This was freaky. Zuo shook. Darren has gained greatly this time. Xieshan's face was upraised and admiring. Darren is an outstanding genius. Zhongru's hands were together, his expression pious. I was not able to see Darren's figure clearly just now. It is terrifying. I didn't neither. Xieshan felt great empathy. He turned and asked Wei Sheng. Teacher Wei, did you see him clearly? Wei Sheng shook his head. He didn't speak. Thinking back to Zuo's movements, a thread of shock flashed through his mind. In his field of view right now, there had only been a faint shadow. That wasn't possible. Wei Sheng almost let out a sound of surprise. It had to be said that he did not locate others just by relying on his eyes, but instead used his sword essence. In his knowledge, nothing was faster than sword essence. But just now, his sword essence could not keep up with Shitty's speed. What did that mean? He was left in a cold sweat. If sword essence could not keep up with the other's speed, that meant he would be unable to lock onto the other. If the target could not be located, then the attack would be ineffective. What happened to Shitty? What had happened? Zuo bent his back as he carefully raised his foot, and then carefully put down his foot as though the sand under his feet were fragile treasures. The gazes of everyone in the surroundings became strange. Darren looked like a duck walking with a limp foot. Zuo did not notice the gazes of other people. All of his attention was on his feet. He was so focused it was like he was embroidering. While alternating between shallow and deep steps, he walked in front of the strange corpse. Zuo finally released a breath. What happened to me? Zuo asked baldly. You fooled all of them, and pulled you down as well. Now it was like this, you have to give an explanation. The strange corpse tilted his head. What do you mean what happened? Zuo glared. My body. What is going on with my body? The strange corpse swept him up and down. He said, Your body is very normal. Zuo almost spat blood. Normal? This was called normal? Then what was Ye's body in the past? Abnormal? Looking at the strange corpse, Zuo couldn't help but sigh inside. He really was an idiot to put his hopes on an antique from tens of thousands of years ago. A few 10,000 years ago, it was enough for his brain to go wrong a few cycles. But Zhuemo thought about how he had two other antiques in his body. The antiques of a few thousand years ago should be more normal than one from tens of thousands of years ago. He suddenly remembered that when he was burning up, he was unable to call Pu Yao. Thinking to there, his heart jumped. He hurriedly called for Pu Yao inside his sea of consciousness. When Zhuemo saw the terrible expression on Pu Yao's face, he felt it was unspeakably close. But Pu Yao's next words instantly caused him to not be in the mood to be emotional. I know what you want to ask. Pu Yao's expression was grave. The change inside your body is a rare one. It is the first time I've seen it. Consciousness, Ling power, and flesh and blood can exist together, but I've never seen this kind of mixture. Zhuemo's heart instantly cooled. Wei's expression was also grave. I'm very sorry. It is the first time I have seen this. Zhuemo's face was ashen. However, Wei was an antique a bit older than Pu Yao. He hesitated and then said, I suspect that your present state is somewhat similar to the ancient cultivators. Pu Yao stilled, and then had an expression of realization. Yes. Your state, isn't this the state of ancient cultivators? Ancient cultivators didn't have divisions of Ling power, spiritual power, and Mo physique. Ancient. Even though Wei and Pu Yao were only guessing, Zhuemo instinctively thought about what the strange corpse had just said. And his face paled. An old antique a few tens of thousands of years old said he was very normal. That meant, in the eyes of the strange corpse, Zhuemo was like him. That you're tuning in to the Limei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.